What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories.
6 vs. 106. Akainu wants to compete with Lai Mu. 106. Akainu wants to compete with Lai Mu. Akainu, didn't you say that before? I'm a really good recruit. I'll come to you if anything happens, and you're willing to get along with me. Could it be that just because of this incident, you're dissatisfied with me? Seeing Lai Mu asking herself, Akainu nodded fiercely. Yes, it is because of this matter that I am dissatisfied with you. Seeing Akainu telling himself that he was dissatisfied, Lai Mu thought that his friendship with her was not that deep. Lai Mu didn't want to say anything more and left directly from him. But Akainu was still a little reluctant. This time it was not Lai Mu squeezing his arm, but him holding Lai Mu tightly. Lai Mu, do you really want to dominate this mission? Do you want to become an admiral or even a marshal in the future? Lai Mu really didn't expect that Akainu would be so angry just for such a small task. It seems that he really cares about this task. But if you give this task to yourself, you must be capable of completing it. Moreover, there is an admiral and a marshal, so he must be able to serve as one. Seeing Lai Mu standing there without speaking, with a faint smile on his face, Akainu was wondering if Lai Mu could complete Ohara's mission this time, and would he be so successful? Lai Mu, I really didn't expect that you are so proud now. Does it make you so happy to be a vice admiral since you were a little soldier? Seeing that he was angry again, Lai Mu also wanted to tell him what was in her heart, so as to avoid his misunderstanding of herself getting deeper and deeper. I'm telling you, Ohara, I really don't want to complete this mission. Akainu was particularly surprised when he heard Lai Mu say this. Akainu wondered if his ears were not working well. Did he hear wrongly? Why didn't Lai Mu want to complete this task? Lai Mu, what did you say? I really don't understand. Seeing him asking himself, Lai Mu didn't want to explain so much, and still wanted to leave here immediately, but Akainu still held Lai Mu tightly. Lai Mu, I gave you such a good task, but you actually said you don't want to complete it. I really don't understand you. You must explain it clearly to me today. Akainu's hand held Lai Mu tightly like that, making Lai Mu really feel more and more dissatisfied with him. Lai Mu was thinking that he didn't want to explain so much, because he could see that Akainu didn't have that deep friendship with him. Just such a small task made him show his face, so Lai Mu didn't want to gotta explain. If he and she were sincere friends, maybe Lai Mu would explain it to him. Now Lai Mu just hopes that he can let go of his hand. If he doesn't let go, don't blame Lai Mu for being rude. You'd better let go of my arm, otherwise I'll be really rude today. Seeing Lai Mu saying that he was not polite to him, Akainu sneered a few times. Akainu was thinking that he had been here at the Marine headquarters for many years. Could it be that he really had no way to fight against Lai Mu? Lai Mu, you actually said you were rude to me, so let's have a good competition today. Seeing that he was going to compete with her, Lai Mu really wanted to persuade him not to hurt him when the time came. I really don't want to compete with you. I don't want to hurt you when the time comes. Seeing Lai Mu saying that he might hurt himself, Akainu sneered a few times. He just didn't believe it and wanted to have a good competition with Lai Mu. Lai Mu, if you don't compete, how can you know who hurt whom? Seeing that he had said this, Lai Mu thought that he should give him some color and let him know how powerful he is and that his power is endless. Lai Mu nodded slowly and looked at the beach 743 in the distance. Okay then, let's go to the beach and show off our skills to see who is better, you or me. The two people walked to the beach one after another, and met Kizaru and Porosalino halfway. Porosalino and Kizaru were particularly curious as to where the two of them were going. Especially Kizaru, who had to complete this mission along the way, and got along well with Lai Mu, so he quickly grabbed Lai Mu. He could tell that Akainu and Lai Mu seemed to be a little angry, especially Akainu. He was also afraid of what would happen to them, so he wanted to break up the relationship. Lai Mu, where are you and Akainu going? Seeing Kizaru asking, Lai Mu also pointed to the beach over there. Of course I want to compete with him. Seeing that the two of them were going to compete, Kizaru naturally disagreed. Point 107. Porosalino without a heart or lungs. 107. Porosalino without a heart or lungs. Kizaru was thinking, how could this be allowed? After all, we are all at the Marine headquarters. Is there still internal fighting? What is Lai Mu doing? If Sengoku Admiral knows about it, Sengoku Admiral will definitely be angry, and he will punish you too. Akainu put his hands on his waist and stared at Kizaru angrily. Kizaru, let me tell you, please mind your own business. Today I just want to have a good competition with Lai Mu to see who is better between the two of us. Kizaru just didn't expect that no matter what he said, he would be reluctant to listen to him. Kizaru thought that since he couldn't explain Akainu, let's talk about Lai Mu. Although Lai Mu also has endless power, he also has a violent temper when he angrily angers his enemies. But if he persuades me nicely, he will probably listen. Lai Mu, don't get to know him, and don't get into a fight with him. Sengoku Admiral will really be angry by then. Seeing Kizaru persuading him, Lai Mu shrugged. He was really helpless. He really wanted to tell Kizaru that he had no choice. Because this Akainu is so unyielding, I also want to give him some color. Kizaru, please stop trying to persuade us. Even if we are punished, it is Akainu and I who are punished. It has nothing to do with you. After Lai Mu said this, he turned around and still wanted to run towards the beach. Kizaru really can't stop meddling in this business now. He can't watch the two of them make this mistake even though they know it is wrong. He still wanted to try his best to persuade Lion Mayan. But poor Salino held him back. Poor Salino was usually too lazy to meddle in other people's business, so he felt that Kizaru didn't have the need. I said, Kizaru, why do you like to meddle in others' own business so much? The two of them want to compete. Let's see the excitement. It's still okay. Whatever you do to interfere with those things, even if you are punished, it has nothing to do with us. Quote. Kizaru glared at poor Salino, thinking that this poor Salino seemed to have no heart or lungs at all. At that time at sea, if Lai Mu hadn't used the Conqueror's Haki, how could he have fought against the bullet? Why couldn't she think better of Lai Mu now? I said you are really a ruthless person. Kizaru said Porosalino and immediately ran to the beach, because he now saw Lai Mu and Akainu already on the beach. If he didn't rush forward and stop the two of them, maybe they would really get into a fight. Lai Mu stood there disapprovingly, waiting for Akainu to rush forward. Akainu saw Lai Mu standing there, as if waiting for him to rush forward. Akainu was thinking, well, he will teach Lai Mu some lessons today. At that time, let the leaders of the World War Palace and Marine Headquarters take a good look at how powerful they are. It was a wrong choice for them to give this task of Ohara to Lai Mu. They should still give this task to themselves. Only they can complete this task. He directly pulled out a sharp knife from his waist and swung it at Lai Mu. When he took steps and rushed towards Lai Mu, Kizaru appeared in front of him again and squeezed his wrist tightly. Akainu saw Kizaru standing in front of Lai Mu like this. He was very angry and shouted angrily. Kizaru, get out of my way. Lai Mu knew that Kizaru just didn't want him and Akainu to make mistakes and be punished when the time came, but now he still hoped that he would let him go. After all, there is no way that the 10 cows can bring Akainu back, and there is no way to change Akainu's mind. Kizaru, you'd better get out of the way quickly and let the two of us have a good competition. The winner will be determined by then. Maybe he will be more honest. Seeing that Lai Mu still obeyed Akainu's wishes, Kizaru was also wondering why Lai Mu couldn't submit. Forget it, Lai Mu, just give in to him and let this matter be over. When Lai Mu saw Kizaru telling him this, Lai Mu glared at him and was really dissatisfied. Even if he was an inconspicuous vice admiral, he would not surrender to anyone. Then the 5 elders themselves didn't bow their heads, so how could an Akainu bow his head? Kizaru, please stop trying to persuade us, otherwise the two of us will have to subdue you first, and then we can have a good competition. Kizaru didn't expect that these two people had such stubborn tempers, and he was hesitating whether he should continue to persuade him to give up. Because Kizaru had just scolded poor Salino, saying that he had no heart or lungs, and was a wolf-hearted person, which made poor Salino feel particularly unhappy. Point 108. Poor Salino snitches. 108. Poor Salino snitches. He was thinking that he just didn't want Kizaru to get involved, so why did Kizaru talk about him like this? He thought that if Kizaru could protect Lai Mu, then he should go and tell the Sengoku Admiral what Lai Mu and Akainu were going to do now. He might really make the Sengoku Admiral furious. He went directly to Sengoku Admiral's office. When he came to the door of Sengoku Admiral's office, he didn't even think about it. He knocked on the door of the office door. Hearing the knock on the door outside, Sengoku Admiral slowly raised his head and said softly, "Come in." Because now Sengoku Admiral is also very worried in his heart. Lai Mu rejected him and did not obey the instructions from above. He was at a loss and didn't know what to do. The person who saw him coming in was poor Salino, and he was really curious about what he was doing when he came in. What's the matter, poor Salino? Is there something wrong? Yes, Sengoku Admiral, I have something to report to you. Seeing that poor Salino said he had something to report, Sengoku Admiral nodded slowly, hoping that he would say something as soon as possible. Tell me, what exactly is going on? Sengoku Admiral, you'd better go and take a look. Akainu and Lai Mu are fighting on the beach. Sengoku Admiral was particularly surprised when he heard the news brought by poor Salino. Sengoku Admiral also stood up immediately and planned to go out and take a look. Because he doesn't want his students to fight with internal personnel now. If the leaders of the Marine Headquarters and the 5 elders of the World War House know about this, they will definitely punish Lai Mu more severely. He rushed out of his office in one stride, and then ran towards the beach. When poor Salino saw Sengoku Admiral going like this, he felt that there was really no need to go with him now. They would definitely know that he had informed Sengoku Admiral. Sengoku Admiral came to the edge of the beach and actually saw Kizaru blocking Akainu and Lai Mu, which made him shout immediately. What are you doing? Hearing Sengoku Admiral's voice, the 3 people immediately bumped their heads there. The first one to become curious was Kizaru. Kizaru was wondering who told Sengoku Admiral, or did Sengoku Admiral just bump into him when he came out? Akainu is also scared now. He is also afraid that Sengoku Admiral will blame him. After all, he did not get the Ohara mission. If he is punished then, it will really be more than the gain is worth the loss. At this time, he had an idea and felt that he really should sue Lai Mu now, saying that it was Lai Mu who provoked him and then competed with him. He no longer rushed forward with the sharp knife, but directly dropped the sharp knife and rushed towards Sengoku Admiral. Lai Mu and Kizaru stood there, really curious about what he was doing. After Akainu rushed forward, he started shouting bitterly. Sengoku Admiral, you have come out. Now you can really make the decision for me. Even Lai Mu provoked me and said that he wanted to have a good competition with me. Otherwise, I would not be willing. It's just that I just don't want to be bullied by him like this. Upon hearing his words, Kizaru and Lai Mu were both very surprised. They did not expect that he would slander Lai Mu like this. Lai Mu stood there not wanting to explain too much, but Kizaru rushed forward, wanting to tell Sengoku Admiral what was going on. Sengoku Admiral glared at Lai Mu angrily. He was wondering whether Lai Mu really thought he owned Conqueror's Haki, the gravity fruit, and even the Kamui space, so was he so arrogant. Lai Mu felt a little uncomfortable when she saw Sengoku Admiral looking at her like this. 15 Philu 30,070. Because I have always respected Sengoku Admiral very much and regarded Sengoku Admiral as my teacher. It was he who brought himself to this marine headquarters, allowing himself to first become a marine soldier and then become a vice admiral. Although he has endless power and is quite powerful, without him giving him a chance, he would not be able to show off his talents like this. He is looking at himself with such angry eyes. Does he really think that he has provoked Akainu? Lai Mu didn't say anything and just left the pile. But Kizaru has already come to Sengoku Admiral's side. Sengoku Admiral, things are not like this, please believe Lai Mu, it is Akainu who has been unwilling to give up and wants to compete with Lai Mu. It really has nothing to do with Lai Mu. Seeing Kizaru testifying for Lai Mu, Sengoku Admiral was naturally willing to believe Lai Mu, and he knew Lai Mu quite well. Since he came to Marine Headquarters, he has really done a lot for Marine Headquarters. No matter how big the storm is, he will always rush forward. 109. Lai Mu doesn't open the door for Kizaru. 109. Lai Mu doesn't open the door for Kizaru. Everyone praised him and seemed to find no fault in him, so his eyes fell on Akainu again. Akainu saw Sengoku Admiral looking at him. He was wondering if Sengoku Admiral believed what Kizaru said now, but he didn't believe what he said. Sengoku Admiral, don't you believe what I said? I was really provoked by Lai Mu, otherwise I wouldn't have thought about competing with him. Seeing his sophistry, Kizaru couldn't bear it anymore and shouted loudly. Akainu has reached this point now, do you still want to lie again? It is obvious that you are unwilling to give up and want to compete with Lai Mu. At this time, Sengoku Admiral also noticed Lai Mu's retreating back. He wanted to call out to Lai Mu, but he knew that Lai Mu might not hear him if he shouted out. Kizaru still wants to speak from Lai Mu's standpoint, because he feels that Lai Mu has been wronged, and he also hopes that Sengoku Admiral can believe Lai Mu. Sengoku Admiral, think carefully about why Lai Mu left so quietly. He was wronged, so he left like this because he felt unhappy. I really hope you can believe him. The person who lied is not someone else. That's Akainu. Akainu really didn't expect that Kizaru would directly say that he was the one who lied. He was very angry and wanted to hit Kizaru with his fist. Kizaru was not afraid either. He straightened his back and stood there, his eyes looking towards Sengoku Admiral again. Did you see it, Sengoku Admiral? Akainu is a little angry right now. He thinks I told him, and he feels guilty. Otherwise, how could he have raised his fist at me? After hearing what Kizaru said to him, Sengoku Admiral nodded slowly, hoping that Kizaru could help him persuade Lai Mu, and then they could sit together and have a chat at night. Well, go and help me persuade Lai Mu. I still trust him. He is my student. How could I not trust him? Seeing Sengoku Admiral say this, Kizaru nodded happily and immediately wanted to rush to Lai Mu's room. Standing there, Akainu heard Sengoku Admiral say that he still believed in Lai Mu, and he also trusted Lai Mu. He was wondering if Sengoku Admiral, in turn, didn't trust him, thinking that he was really just like Kizaru said, and that he had lied. Sengoku Admiral, don't you believe me? Sengoku Admiral doesn't want to say a word now, because the order issued by the World War government gives him a headache. So they are not willing to take care of such small things now. You'd better calm down and don't provoke me. I will really punish you when the time comes. Sengoku Admiral said this, turned around and left, returning to his office, leaving Akainu standing alone on the beach in a daze. Akainu was thinking that just now, it seemed that he really failed to sue, and now he was complaining all over again. It really seemed that the gains outweighed the losses. He also became a little curious, who told Sengoku Admiral these things, otherwise he could have really competed with Lai Mu just now, and maybe he could have won Lai Mu. Please give me flowers. Lai Mu didn't think much about anything. He returned to his dormitory and lay down on the bed planning to take 10 good rests. Even if the 5 elders of the World War House blame him, he is not afraid. Just as he fell asleep, he was still in a daze when he heard a loud knock on the door of his room. Lai Mu was really curious as to who was disturbing her rest. Lai Mu turned over and didn't want to pay attention to it. He wanted to say that maybe this person knocked on the door a few times and left without hearing his response. Oh. Kizaru knocked outside for a long time, wondering why Lai Mu didn't open the door for him. It seemed that he really should shout twice. Lai Mu, are you there? It's me, Kizaru, open the door quickly. When Lai Mu heard that it was Kizaru outside, he knew that Kizaru must have come to persuade him not to be angry with Sengoku Admiral. I am really not angry with Sengoku Admiral, but I just feel a little bit unhappy in my heart. Lai Mu was still lying there with his eyes closed, and did not sit up, let alone open the door. Hearing no response from the room, Kizaru wondered if Lai Mu was not in the room. Or is it that if you knock on the door, he won't open it for you? It seems that we should inform the Sengoku Admiral and see if the Sengoku Admiral can personally persuade Lai Mu. After all, Lai Mu also had a very stubborn temper. He turned around and left the door of Lai Mu's room. You can read more daily new novels on fictionzone.net. Both sites shared the same login details, so you don't need to sign up again. D.110. Sengoku Admiral personally persuaded Lai Mu. 110. Sengoku Admiral personally persuaded Lai Mu. No more knocking on the door was heard. Lai Mu quickly fell asleep again, and this time he really fell asleep more deeply. Kizaru came to the door of Sengoku Admiral's office and knocked on the door. Hearing the knock on the office door, Sengoku Admiral shouted loudly, "Come in." Kizaru walked directly in and said anxiously, "Sengoku Admiral, why don't you go and persuade Lai Mu? I just knocked on the door for a long time, and he didn't respond. I don't know if he doesn't want to see me, or if he wants to not even in the room." Seeing that, 823, Kizaru failed to accomplish this task, Sengoku Admiral did not want to blame him anymore. I plan to let him go back first and have a good rest. Because this time he followed Lai Mu and Porcellino, and they also completed the tasks assigned to them by the Marine headquarters. It was considered very hard. How could he blame them for such small things? You should go back to your room and rest first. I will go to Lai Mu's room to call him later, and then we will have some food together and have a good chat. Seeing Sengoku Admiral's instructions, Kizaru could only nodded and left Sengoku Admiral's office for the time being. After leaving here, Kizaru still felt that this matter might have been done by Porcellino, who went to tell the Sengoku Admiral. I feel that his big mouth is really annoying, so it seems that I should question him properly. Kizaru did not return to his room, but rushed to Porcellino's room. Sengoku Admiral had been processing documents in his office for a long time. It was getting late. He stood up and ran straight to Lai Mu's room. When he came to the door of Lai Mu's room, he straightened his collar, then slowly raised his hand and knocked on Lai Mu's door. Hearing the knock on the door, Lai Mu slowly opened his eyes. It was considered that he had slept for a long time. This time he was also a little curious about who was coming, but it was getting late and he was a little hungry. He couldn't hide in the room all the time. He had to go out when he needed to. Lai Mu stood up this time and opened the door directly without asking who was outside. After opening the door, he did not expect that it was not Kizaru but Sengoku Admiral who came before him. He also stood there without saying a word, just facing Sengoku Admiral. Seeing that Lai Mu didn't say a word when he saw him, Sengoku Admiral knew why Lai Mu didn't speak, and also planned to speak first, so as to break the embarrassment at this moment. What's wrong, Lai Mu? Why don't you even smile when you see me, don't even want to talk to me, and why don't you invite me to sit in your room? Seeing Sengoku Admiral talking to him so softly now, instead of staring at him with disbelief like he did on the beach just now, Lai Mu could only step aside and let Sengoku Admiral walk into his room. Take a seat. Seeing Lai Mu move away, Sengoku Admiral walked in directly and sat on Lai Mu's chair. Lai Mu, I know that you must be a little unhappy in your heart now, thinking that I didn't believe you on the beach, but that was just because I listened to Akainu at that time, so I looked at you with that look first. But when I heard the facts Kizaru told me, I immediately believed that you were the one who didn't lie. Lai Mu just smiled faintly and sat by his bed without saying a word. He was thinking that Sengoku Admiral might still not trust him at that time. If he had always believed that he was the one who did not lie, he would not have looked at him with that look. Seeing that Lai Mu still didn't say a word, Sengoku Admiral also hoped that this matter would be over, so that the five elders of the World War House would not get hold of anything and punish Lai Mu. Lai Mu, you know that if you don't obey the orders of the five elders of the World War Palace this time, then you can't do anything else wrong on the cusp of this storm. When the time comes, they will have to grasp something. I won't let you go. Seeing Sengoku Admiral coming to remind him of these words, Lai Mu just nodded slowly, still sitting there without saying a word. Seeing that Lai Mu remained silent, Sengoku Admiral knew that it was possible that the matter would be dropped. He was also late at this time, so he and Lai Mu could really go have something to eat together now. Lai Mu, why don't we call Kizaru and go have something to eat together? Lai Mu nodded, stood up and planned to call Kizaru with Sengoku Admiral, because he knew in his heart that Kizaru regarded him as a true friend and was sincere to him. At that time, he was blocking himself and Akainu so much. He didn't want them to compete. It was also for his own sake. Chapter 111 Kizaru and Porcellino fight. Chapter 111 Kizaru and Porcellino fight. The two of them walked out of the room together and headed towards Kizaru's room. The two came to the door of Kizaru's room. Because Sengoku Admiral was also his leader, Lai Mu took the initiative to reach out and knocked on Kizaru's door. But after knocking for a long time, no one responded. Lai Mu looked at Sengoku Admiral, but Sengoku Admiral once again stretched out his hand and knocked. Kizaru, are you there? Lai Mu and I came to find you. Let's go have something to eat together. Although Sengoku Admiral shouted like this outside, there was still no living person in the room responding. Lai Mu also became curious. Kizaru just called him, so where has he gone now? Just when the two people became curious, they heard the sound of punching and kicking in the room next to them. Lai Mu looked at Sengoku Admiral, and Sengoku Admiral looked at Lai Mu again. The two knew that someone must be fighting in the next room. As an admiral, Sengoku Admiral, he really wanted to see who was fighting in the dormitory. As a leader, he also had to take good care of them, so he rushed directly to the room. Arriving at the door of the room, he saw that it was not someone else's room, but the door of Porcellino's room. Lai Mu also chased Sengoku Admiral to the door of Porcellino's room. Sengoku Admiral raised his fist and knocked heavily on the doorknob. Open the door for me. Hearing the sound outside, Kizaru and Porcellino also stopped. After looking at each other, they both adjusted their marine suits and opened the door again. After the door was opened, Lai Mu and Sengoku Admiral were startled by poor Salino's appearance. Unexpectedly, he also had some injuries on his face, his hair was messy, and his clothes were wrinkled. Looking inside, they saw Kizaru standing there again. His hair was a little messy and his face was slightly injured. It seemed that the two of them must have been fighting just now. Sengoku Admiral and Lai Mu were standing there very curious. What happened to the two of them and why were they fighting? Before Lai Mu could speak, Sengoku Admiral said loudly. I said, why are you two still fighting among yourself? Kizaru didn't want to explain too much. He felt that he was not wrong at all, so he wanted to walk out of the room. But this Pelusalino wanted the villain to complain first, and then let Sengoku Admiral punish Kizaru properly. Sengoku Admiral, you don't know how hateful this Kizaru is. I stayed in the room to rest, and he came directly to the room to question me, then bullied me, and now he beats me like this. Kizaru slowly turned around and glared at Pelusalino again. He was thinking that this Pelusalino was really similar to Akainu who was on the beach just now. They both like evil people to complain first. But I don't want to explain too much. Anyway, I didn't do anything wrong. He was about to leave, but was stopped by Lai Mu. Lai Mu was thinking that he should make things clear. He knew that Kizaru could not hurt Napolisalino like this for no reason. What happened to Kizaru? How did you hurt poor Salino? Is there some special reason? Seeing Lai Mu asking himself, Kizaru knew that Lai Mu was not questioning himself, but just hoped that he could tell these reasons, so that Sengoku Admiral would not misunderstand E. Kizaru nodded slowly. Yes, some people have big mouths, so I want to teach them a lesson. Hearing about big mouth, Sengoku Admiral finally understood. It seemed that Kizaru was really smart. He also guessed that it was poor Salino who told him that Lai Mu and Akainu were going to compete on the beach. So he was very dissatisfied and came to 287 to question poor Salino. Sengoku Admiral also felt his head hurt even more due to their popularity, as if he felt like he was about to explode. He was so angry that he stamped his feet and spoke loudly. I said, can't you save me some peace of mind one by one? I'm very worried now. You actually know how to make trouble for me one by one. This matter ends here today. Who asks about your injuries? Just say you fell down. But how could Pelusalino just give up? He still persisted in insisting that Kizaru had bullied him, and he still hoped that Sengoku Admiral could give him a reasonable solution. Sengoku Admiral is impossible. This matter cannot be settled here. Why should I be bullied by Kizaru in vain? You must give me a reasonable solution. Sengoku Admiral was stunned. He didn't expect that he also wanted this matter to turn around. As their leader, he ordered them and informed them like this, but he was still so unwilling to let go. Point 112. Lai Mu wants to hear the truth. 112. Lai Mu wants to hear the truth. Sengoku Admiral wanted to raise his fist and punch him twice, but since he was the leader, he couldn't use force to solve the problem. He also glared at Napolisalino. I really want to ask poor Salino how he wants him to solve this matter. Lai Mu, who was standing aside, had a lot of confusion. He was wondering why Kizaru called poor Salino a big mouth and what did Pelusalino say. Seeing Lai Mu's confused eyes, Kizaru also pulled Lai Mu, feeling that there was no need for the two of them to be here. I have said that Sengoku Admiral, because poor Salino has a big mouth, so can Lai Mu and I leave now. Before Sengoku Admiral could speak, poor Salino also said loudly. Why do you leave? This matter has not been resolved yet. You can't leave. You must resolve this matter today before you can leave. Lai Mu still wanted to express his confusion. This time, he didn't wait for Sengoku Admiral to speak before he spoke. Kizaru, I really don't understand why you said poor Salino is a big mouth. What did he say? Kizaru stood there hesitating for a while, wondering whether he should say it or not. If he spoke out, it was possible that Lai Mu would really be angry with poor Salino, and he didn't want them to have hatred or dissatisfaction between them. Seeing Kizaru standing there without answering him, Lai Mu was really worried. What's wrong, Kizaru? Why didn't you tell me? Does this matter have something to do with me? Poor Salino is also very scared now. He is thinking that Kizaru had better not say anything. If he does, since Lai Mu is so powerful, will he take revenge on him in the future? Poor Salino was also frightened and started to tremble. Sengoku Admiral saw Pelusalino trembling and now he really wanted to take the opportunity to ask him if he still needed to give him a reasonable solution. How about it? Do you still need me to give you a reasonable solution now? If not, let this matter go. Let's quickly turn this matter over today and say, no one should mention it again. Lai Mu saw that even Sengoku Admiral seemed to want to put this matter away, and Lai Mu wanted to find out even more. Kizaru, if you don't tell me today, the friendship between the two of us seems to be really not that sincere. I hope you won't hide anything from me. Seeing Lai Mu questioning him so eagerly, Kizaru immediately smiled and felt that everyone should be more harmonious. He also hoped that this matter would be settled and no one would mention it again. There's nothing wrong with Lai Mu, it's just that I just can't stand what poor Salino does in normal times, so I came here today to teach him a lesson. Now I'm not angry anymore, and I want to be with poor Salino even more. Salino makes peace, let's go have something to eat together. Lai Mu naturally didn't believe what Kizaru said now. She glared at him and turned around and left the door of poor Salino's room. Poor Salino patted his chest and breathed a sigh of relief. Seeing him like this, Sengoku Admiral was thinking that if he didn't have the ability, he shouldn't keep pursuing it. Why was he so unwilling just now? I really hope he'd better keep his mouth shut now. Don't let the time come. Lai Mu really knows how to teach him a lesson. I'm telling you, just do things in moderation. Don't always be unreasonable and unforgiving. Sengoku Admiral left these words and left the door of Porcelino's room, and then went to catch up with Lai Mu, hoping that he would not be more suspicious. Seeing Sengoku Admiral leaving the door of Porcelino's room, Kizaru glared at Pelusolino, who also followed Sengoku Admiral, and the two men chased him out. After going out, Lai Mu came to the beach and felt that the Marine headquarters had paid a lot, especially sincerely helping them to subdue the pirates one by one. But why are they not so sincere when they speak? Could it be that they don't regard themselves as one of their own? Even if other people don't regard themselves as one of their own, why doesn't Kizaru tell him the truth? He was so protective of himself at that time and was afraid that he would be punished, but now he is unwilling to say a true word to himself. Lai Mu was also blowing the sea breeze and looking at the blue sea, wondering if he had made the wrong choice by coming to the Marine headquarters. Seeing Lai Mu sitting on the beach, Sengoku Admiral and Kizaru hurriedly came to his side. Lai Mu, let's go, don't think too much, let's go eat quickly. Kizaru said with a smile. Although Kizaru came to ask him to eat, Lai Mu still sat there without saying a word. 113. Lai Mu angrily warns Porcelino. Amazing video. 0/447. 113. Lai Mu angrily warns Porcelino. Seeing that Lai Mu didn't say a word, Kizaru really didn't know what to do and could only look at Sengoku Admiral. Sengoku Admiral slowly squatted down next to Lai Mu and said with a smile, "What's wrong, Lai Mu? Are you still wondering why Kizaru said Porcelino is a big mouth?" Seeing Sengoku Admiral asking himself to speak, Lai Mu wondered if Sengoku Admiral wanted to tell him the truth. Lai Mu slowly raised his head and nodded, "Yes, I just want to know. At least I am a member of Marine headquarters. I hope you can tell me the truth. And if you keep it from me like this, it's possible that this matter has something to do with me." Quote. If you don't tell me, are you saying that I really just act as if nothing happened and nothing happened? I simply can't help but be suspicious. Seeing that Lai Mu said that he couldn't do it at all, and that he would no longer continue to suspect this matter, Sengoku Admiral thought that he should tell Lai Mu about this matter. Maybe he would tell Lai Mu, but in Lai Mu's heart it will also be a lot more enjoyable. Yes, Lai Mu, Porcelino just saw you and Akainu competing on the beach, but he complained to me. I guess Kizaru guessed this, so he wanted to teach him a lesson. Now that you have learned about this matter, don't you think too much about it? Hearing this, Lai Mu still had a lot of confusion. He was thinking that he seemed not to have offended Porcelino. Why did he sue himself and Akainu? Could it be that he wanted to see both himself and Akainu punished? Seeing Lai Mu still sitting there, looking a little dazed, Sengoku Admiral and Kizaru knew that he still had many doubts, and they knew that they still had to explain things clearly. BFFE, especially Kizaru, he wanted to estimate that Porcelino did these things at the time, maybe because he scolded him, which made him feel a little unhappy, so he went to sue Lai Mu and Akainu. Personal status. Lai Mu, this thing is all my fault. You must not be angry with Porcelino, because I blocked the two of you at that time. He told me not to meddle in other people's business. I think he has no heart and no lungs. Even more so, he called him a wolf-hearted person. So he might be a little angry, so he went to inform Sengoku Admiral about the matter. Seeing Kizaru saying this to herself, Lai Mu nodded slowly and didn't want to think about anything more. I feel that Porcelino is indeed a difficult person to be friends with. It seems that if I want to be friends with him, I should get along well with Kizaru. Lai Mu directly stretched out his hand. When Kizaru saw Lai Mu stretching his hand over, he immediately pulled him up, knowing that Lai Mu didn't care so much now. Let's go eat quickly. Sengoku Admiral and Kizaru nodded, and went to the canteen of Marine headquarters together with Lai Mu. There were many Marines sitting there, everyone was eating and chatting, and it was very lively. Lai Mu and Kizaru Sengoku Admiral also chose some food and planned to sit there and eat. Seeing that Lai Mu only ate a little, and there was no meat food, Kizaru wondered whether Lai Mu could really be full. He also laughed. I said, Lai Mu, why don't you eat more, otherwise your fists may not have the strength to swing. Seeing Kizaru joking with him, Lai Mu smiled and shook his head. Lai Mu was thinking that his endless power did not necessarily come from these meats. It was based on his own strength, because he had these endless powers. Endless power. Don't worry, no matter whether I eat meat or vegetarian food, I can still punch more powerfully. Several people were planning to find a seat to sit down, but they didn't expect to see Porcelino coming to the cafeteria at this time. When Porcelino saw Lai Mu, he was naturally very scared, but when he saw Kizaru, he glared at Kizaru. Seeing Er's look made Lai Mu very dissatisfied. One is because he looked at Kizaru with this look, and the other is because he sued himself and Akainu and felt that he was really a villain. Lai Mu put down the plate in his hand and rushed towards Porcelino. He grabbed his collar and stared at him like a wolf. Seeing Lai Mu treating him like this, Porcelino was really frightened and even trembled when he spoke. I said, Lai Mu, what are you doing? Lai Mu was thinking about what he was doing, didn't he understand? He just wanted to ask him properly why he was staring at Kizaru with the same look just now when Kizaru had already spoken for him like that. Before Lai Mu could speak, Sengoku Admiral and Kizaru rushed forward. They didn't want Lai Mu to be too impulsive, otherwise he would be punished. Lai Mu, please let go of your hand quickly. 114. Lai Mu is congratulated. 114. Lai Mu is congratulated. Lai Mu, don't be impulsive. Lai Mu knew what these two people meant. They were all thinking about themselves and were afraid that they would be punished by their superiors. But how could he wave his fist casually? He just wanted to give poor Salino some warning. I tell you to be polite to Kizaru from now on. He is a good friend of mine. I will not allow anyone to look at him or bully him with such eyes. Seeing Lai Mu warning him like this, poor Salino could only nod his head first. He knew that if he shook his head, or had a few angry words with Lai Mu, maybe he will be knocked down by Lai Mu in a while. On the ground. Seeing him nodding obediently, Lai Mu also loosened his collar. Poor Salino didn't even stand firm on his feet and fell directly onto the chair. The other Marines all saw Lai Mu's momentum, but they didn't expect that his momentum was like the rough waves, which seemed to hit poor Salino's body overwhelmingly. Everyone immediately stopped making noise and became much quieter. Seeing Lai Mu like this, Sengoku Admiral also knew that Lai Mu valued love and justice. He might not like the look in poor Salino's eyes just now, but he was just a vice admiral and still hoped that he would do things at the right time. If the news reaches the World War House then, they might find fault with Lai Mu again. I said Lai Mu, you must be careful when doing something, do you understand? Lai Mu nodded and stopped talking. The few people returned to their seats, where they sat and ate. Kizaru, who was sitting aside, felt warm in his heart. He really didn't expect Lai Mu to treat him as a good friend. He went to think about Lai Mu. Lai Mu was protecting him like this now. He sat there and started to eat. Sengoku Admiral knew that no matter how much he tried to persuade him, it would be of no use. Lai Mu had such a personality and there was really nothing he could do to change it. He sat there and started eating. But this scene was really seen by Akainu. Akainu was thinking that Lai Mu was acting so recklessly, and the World War House probably didn't know about it. It seems that I really should tell the World War Office about Lai Mu's behavior and let the 5 elders there know about the situation here, and then they can take good control of Lai Mu. After all, he is just a small vice admiral now. If he becomes an admiral or a marshal in the future, he will definitely become more rampant. Doesn't the World War government intend to control him properly? Lai Mu eats really fast. After eating, he stands up and is about to leave. You two eat slowly first, I'll leave first. Seeing Lai Mu's resolute appearance, Sengoku Admiral and Kizaru also looked at each other and smiled. They didn't say anything more and continued to eat their food. Just when Lai Mu was about to go out, he bumped into the 2 female Marines who were going out to sea with them. The 2 female Marines came up and greeted her warmly, because they knew that Lai Mu had accomplished a good job this time and was promoted to Vice Admiral. Naturally, they wanted to congratulate her. Lai Mu, I'm so happy for you. Seeing them saying this, Lai Mu nodded with a smile and thanked them for their congratulations. ... Please give me flowers. Thank you so much for congratulating me like this. The 2 female Marines are also particularly optimistic about Lai Mu, because Lai Mu is really a good person and so powerful. They also hope that they will have the opportunity to cooperate next time. Lai Mu, I really hope that we can go to sea together next time. After all, with you by our side, we really don't have to worry about how much harm we will get. You are really awesome. Seeing them talking like this, Lai Mu nodded, feeling that he had received a lot of care from them this time, and it would be great if they could still go to sea together. 0. Then I hope we can go to sea together next time. I will go back to the room to rest first. Lai Mu said something and walked directly past the 2 people. Lai Mu walked out of the cafeteria and saw the sea breeze blowing on the beach. Lai Mu walked to the beach again, walked out to eat and then returned to his room after more than 10 years. Because I slept really well in the afternoon, and I don't feel so sleepy now. The 5 elders of the World War Palace are really anxious as they wait. They are wondering why the Sengoku Admiral has not responded to them yet. Could it be that Lai Mu is unwilling? If they really don't want to, they can only force Lai Mu to be subdued. Even if they lose such a good vice admiral, they don't feel it is a pity. Kizaru and Sengoku Admiral finished their meal and walked out of the cafeteria together, wanting to separate and go back to their dormitories. You can read more daily new novels on fictionzone.net. Both sites shared the same login details so you don't need to sign up again. 115. Kizaru hopes Lai Mu will think of Sengoku Admiral. 115. Kizaru hopes Lai Mu will think of Sengoku Admiral. Sengoku Admiral was thinking that Lai Mu had just said that he regarded Kizaru as his good friend, so could he now ask Kizaru to persuade Lai Mu? Maybe Lai Mu would really be willing to listen. Kizaru, there is something I want to tell you. You also know that Lai Mu's character is too stubborn. If he does not obey the 5 elders of the World War Palace this time, he may really suffer a lot. Hurt. I hope you can persuade him, and also obey the orders from above, complete Ohara's mission this time, and send the Golden Lion into the Impel down. 230. Seeing Sengoku Admiral ordering him like this, Kizaru really couldn't refuse, so he felt that he could only try his best. I really don't dare to guarantee you about Sengoku Admiral. I can only give it a try first. You also said that Lai Mu's character cannot be changed. Seeing that Kizaru was also afraid that things would not work out, Sengoku Admiral could only nod his head, because he thought it was good that Kizaru could give him a try. Go and persuade him properly. Kizaru left Sengoku Admiral's side directly and rushed to Lai Mu's dormitory. Arriving at the door of Lai Mu's dormitory, I knocked on the door for a long time, but there was really no response from anyone in the room. Kizaru was thinking that after Lai Mu left the cafeteria, did he not return to his dormitory? It seemed that he could only stand at the door of his dormitory and wait for a while. Lai Mu walked around on the beach and planned to go back to his dormitory to rest early. As soon as he walked into the corridor of the dormitory, he saw someone standing at the door of his dormitory. The figure looked like a round ape. He was thinking that it was so late and why Kizaru came to his room again instead of going back to rest. He quickly quickened his pace and was about to reach the door of his room. I said, Kizaru, why didn't you go back to rest? Did you come to my room for something? Nothing. I just want to chat with you. Seeing Kizaru talking about chatting, Lai Mu really didn't believe it, knowing that something must be wrong with him. If he was okay, how could he come? Lai Mu opened the door and welcomed Kizaru into his room. The two sat there. Lai Mu didn't say anything, just wanted to see what Kizaru had to say to him. Seeing that Lai Mu didn't speak, Kizaru thought that he should speak out. After all, he was also following Sengoku Admiral's instructions. Regardless of whether he can persuade Lai Mu or not, he should still try his best. Lai Mu, I know that you are very stubborn and a good person. How about you listen to the words of the 5 elders of the World War Palace and complete the tasks that should be completed? Seeing that Kizaru came to persuade him, Lai Mu also glared at him. Kizaru knew that Lai Mu would be a little angry if he said this. But both himself and Sengoku Admiral were doing it for his own good. He wanted to persuade Lai Mu again, but Lai Mu said it directly. I said, Kizaru, you just came here, didn't you just want to talk to me? Why are you here to persuade me about these things now? Hearing Lai Mu ask himself this, Kizaru sighed. He still wanted to tell Lai Mu that if he didn't think about others, he should also think about Sengoku Admiral. Sengoku Admiral brought him to the Marine headquarters and promoted him to Vice Admiral. If he did not obey the 5 elders of the World War House, then Sengoku Admiral might also be implicated and even more punished. If you think about Sengoku Admiral, he is our leader. If he fails to control us, will the 5 elders of the World War Palace also punish Sengoku Admiral? You should not want to see Sengoku Admiral be punished when the time comes. It's coming. Lai Mu knew that Sengoku Admiral might be punished because of his refusal, but he would never allow such a thing to happen. Don't worry, I won't let such a thing happen. You don't have to worry about these things. It's better to go back and rest as soon as possible. Seeing Lai Mu rushing him to leave, Kizaru knew that Lai Mu was also unwilling to listen to his nagging. It seemed that even though he tried his best, he still couldn't persuade Lai Mu to move. Okay Lai Mu, then I'll go back on 1.6. Kizaru stood up slowly and could only leave Lai Mu's room first. After Lai Mu lay on the bed, he also thought a lot. He was wondering if he really wanted to obey the 5 elders of the World War Palace for Sengoku Admiral. After all, each of them is really bullying others a little too much. Even if they have a high position, what can they do, but they don't have any strength at all. After thinking for a while, Lai Mu didn't want to think about it anymore. He still wanted to close his eyes and go to rest as soon as possible. Let's talk about it after tonight. Lai Mu closed his eyes and fell asleep. 116. Akainu egged on Porcellino. 116. Akainu egged on Porcellino. After Sengoku Admiral returned to the room, he was still a little unable to sleep. He was also thinking about whether Kizaru had completed the matter. Since it was late, he could not ask Kizaru again and could only wait until tomorrow. Early the next morning, before Sengoku Admiral could find Kizaru, Kizaru went straight to Sengoku Admiral's office. When he came to Sengoku Admiral's office, he was very apologetic and could only say sorry first. Sengoku Admiral is really sorry. I tried to persuade Lai Mu yesterday, but Lai Mu was still unwilling to listen. Seeing Kizaru telling him this, Sengoku Admiral knew that he had tried his best, and slowly shook his head without saying anything more. It doesn't matter, you should go down and train. Kizaru nodded and could only exit Sengoku Admiral's office. After Lai Mu woke up, 15 first went to the cafeteria to eat something, and then came to the beach, waving his fists and planning to train. Because I don't want to compete with Akainu for Ohara's mission, I just want to complete other missions and deal with other pirates. So he was slowly waiting for orders from his superiors to arrange other tasks for himself. Seeing Kizaru also coming to the beach to train, he walked directly to Kizaru's side. Kizaru, you're here for training too. Kizaru nodded, and the two of them started training together on the beach. Porcellino stood there in the distance, watching the two of them training together, just like his brothers, and he was really envious. He was wondering if it was because he was selfish and heartless that he allowed them to distance themselves from him. Seeing this scene, he also pouted, wanting to go somewhere else to train his strength. After improving your strength, you may be able to take on new tasks. After completing them, you can even be promoted to Admiral or Marshal bit by bit. In that case, he would have a superior status and be much stronger than Lai Mu and Kizaru. Before he turned around, someone tapped him on the shoulder. He turned around slowly, not expecting that it was that day. After seeing Akainu, Porcellino didn't want to say anything more, he just wanted to throw away his hand, but this Akainu wanted to sow discord. I said you are really good-tempered Porcellino, why are you being bullied by Lai Mu and others like that? Do you really want to swallow this? Seeing Akainu asking himself, Porcellino was thinking about what he could do if he didn't take this breath. My own strength is really no match for Lai Mu. Could it be that this Akainu can help me teach Lai Mu a lesson? What's wrong? Are you really capable of dealing with Lai Mu? Porcellino asked curiously. Akainu knows that he may not have that ability, but he really wants to give Lai Mu a good beating, that is, tell the World War House about its various behaviors and let the World War House teach him a lesson. Knives kill people. Yes, it is possible that my strength is not as good as that of Lai Mu, but I think I can really inform the World War Office about his various behaviors and his arrogance, so that the World War Office can properly discipline him. Hearing Akainu say this, Porcellino felt that this idea seemed to be quite good. It seemed that he was right, that is, he should tell the World War House about Lai Mu's various behaviors. You are right, then you really should inform the World War House as soon as possible. Akainu was thinking that even if he did bad things, he couldn't be alone. He should really involve one more person. Even if the punishment is given to both of them, they should share it equally every day. I think the two of us should go together. If we tell the World War government, they 907 will believe it more. Do you think I am right? Porcellino usually seems to be very smart and unwilling to meddle in other people's business, and is even more heartless, but sometimes he is also mindless. Seeing Akainu say this, he nodded slowly, feeling that it made sense. It seemed that the two of them really should go together. He nodded and followed Akainu directly, planning to rush to the World War Palace and tell the five elders there about the matter. The two of them left the beach together, and this scene was really seen by Kizaru, who was wielding a knife. Kizaru saw the two of them getting together and leaving the beach again. Kizaru is very curious. After all, the two of them don't get along so well in normal times. Why can they walk together now? Seeing Kizaru stop, Lai Mu also patted him on the shoulder, really hoping that he would be more serious and train well. 117. The five elders meet Akainu and Porcellino. 117. The five elders meet Akainu and Porcellino. I said what's wrong, something disturbed you and made you stop and not continue training properly. Seeing Lai Mu asking, Kizaru could only shake his head, it's nothing, just hurry up and train. Lai Mu nodded and waved his fist again. That fist was really quite powerful. The moment I waved it, it seemed to be carrying the sea breeze. Akainu and Porcellino also took a boat and soon arrived at the castle of the World War Palace. After arriving there, the two people walked towards the yard, but the marine soldiers at the door really stopped them. Excuse me, where are you from? What's the matter? We are the marine headquarters of Marineford, and we want to meet the five elders of the World War Palace. The marine soldier at the door felt that he should inform the five elders first. After informing them, see if they would allow the two people in front of him to meet them. You should just stand here and wait for a while. Let's go and notify the five elders. If they don't see you, there's nothing we can do. Akainu and Porcellino were not in a hurry, they nodded and stood there planning to wait. Okay, let's tell the five elders as soon as possible. We really have important things to report to the five elders. The two marine soldiers nodded and entered the hall directly. The five elders heard that two marine vice admirals came to the marine headquarters in Marineford, and were really curious about what they came for. Then let them come in first, and we will also hear what they are here for. Seeing that the five elders were planning to let in the two vice admirals from the marine headquarters, the two marine soldiers also walked out and informed Akainu and Porcellino. Akainu and Porcellino were overjoyed, walked in directly, and reported the matter to the five elders. When the five elders heard what they said, they felt that Lai Mu was indeed a bit arrogant. They wanted to call Sengoku Admiral first, and then ask Sengoku Admiral to discipline him properly, and then ask him if he had any make a promise to complete something as soon as possible. Thank you very much for coming to tell us this. You two should go back first. We will also learn to discipline Lai Mu, the vice admiral. Seeing that the five elders had already said this, Akainu and Porcellino couldn't say anything more. After all, they were just small vice admirals, and they really couldn't keep nagging in front of the leaders. Individuals can only return to their marine headquarters first. After seeing them leave, one of the five elders also made a call and dialed Zongui Admiral's office. After Sengoku Admiral received the call, he did not expect that the five elders would urge him again today. It seemed that he was really anxious. When he wanted to tell the five elders over there that he would instruct Lai Mu as soon as possible, the five elders over there started talking again. I heard that this Lai Mu is really rampant. He often bullies people in your marine headquarters. I hope you can discipline him well. If you can't manage him, then the five of us will have to do it. We will dispatch again and rush to Marineford. We will personally discipline him. Sengoku Admiral was really a little confused. He was wondering if someone had informed the five elders about what Lai Mu had done in the past few days. When Sengoku Admiral was puzzled, the call from five elders was immediately hung up. Sengoku Admiral sighed. Now he didn't know whether he should go to Lai Mu and persuade him properly. He also knew that neither he nor Kizaru had said so many words, but Lai Mu was unwilling to listen. Should he try his best again? He was sitting alone in his office, feeling worried. Akainu and Porcellino took a boat back from the World War Palace and returned to the marine headquarters in Marineford. The two came to the beach again. Now the two of them are like good friends, talking and laughing as they walk towards Shaw. Seeing the two of them talking and laughing, Lai Mu noticed it while standing there. Lai Mu was wondering when the two of them got along so well. Seeing Lai Mu staring at Akainu and Porcellino, Kizaru also came to him and patted him on the shoulder. What's wrong, Lai Mu? I said, what are you looking at? Aren't you usually very serious? Why aren't you serious now? Seeing Kizaru asking himself, Lai Mu pointed his finger towards Akainu and Porcellino. You just saw the two of them together, so you were a little dazed. Now I'm really curious about when the two of them got along so well. Point 118. Lai Mu must bravely face the five elders. 118. Lai Mu must bravely face the five elders. Kizaru still wanted to tell Lai Mu not to worry about why Akainu and Porcelino got along so well, and that they should just do their own thing well. Lai Mu, as long as we train ourselves well and complete the task well, then we have done what we should do, so we don't have to worry about them. Seeing Kizaru saying this to himself, Lai Mu nodded and didn't think much about it. However, Akainu and Porcelino were also looking at Lai Mu and Kizaru. Especially Akainu, he was thinking that he and Porcelino had just informed the five elders of the World War Palace. Maybe they would soon issue an order to have Lai Mu disciplined by Sengoku Admiral. Question mark. QG. Plus. %. Even if Sengoku Admiral doesn't discipline the five elders, they may come to discipline them themselves, and Lai Mu will really suffer by then. The five elders of World War House were really anxious as they waited. They were wondering why Sengoku Admiral still hadn't responded to them. They decided to call Sengoku Admiral again through 967, and the call came to Sengoku again. Admiral's office. Hearing the phone ringing, Sengoku Admiral became so nervous that he didn't know how to reach out and pick up the phone. He hesitated for a long time and picked up the phone again. Hey, who is it? Sengoku Admiral, have you ordered Lai Mu to send the Golden Lion to impel down as soon as possible? I think you are really slow in doing things. You don't seem to be suitable to sit here as Admiral. Position. Hearing this crackling rebuke, Sengoku Admiral didn't know what to say. The five elders became anxious, wondering why Sengoku Admiral didn't say a word on the other end of the phone. Sengoku Admiral, did you hear what we were saying? Five elders, I heard it, but Lai Mu's temper is like this. I really can't understand him. Seeing Sengoku Admiral telling them helplessly, the five elders were very angry. The five elders thought that they really couldn't point to this Sengoku Admiral, so they hung up the phone immediately. When he heard the call over there was hung up, Sengoku Admiral became even more nervous. He didn't know what would happen next. All he wants now is to find Lai Mu and tell Lai Mu that the five elders may find Lai Mu soon and will severely punish him. He stood up and left his office immediately. After walking out, I looked towards the beach and saw Lai Mu and Kizaru training. I also quickened my pace and went in beside them. Lai Mu no longer waved his fist at this time, but waved a sharp knife. After all, as a vice admiral of the Marine headquarters, not only does the fist BFEG need to be strong, but the sword must also be wielded with strength. When he turned around, he didn't expect to see Sengoku Admiral walking in front of him. What's wrong with Sengoku Admiral? Why do you look so worried on your face? Lai Mu, you'd better go back to the dormitory now. It's best to hide so that no one can find you. Hearing what Sengoku Admiral said, Lai Mu didn't quite understand, but Kizaru standing aside understood it. What's wrong, Sengoku Admiral? Are you saying that the five elders of the World War Palace are urging you again? Sengoku Admiral nodded. Yes, they just called me again, asking me to urge you to send the Golden Lion to the impel down as soon as possible, and then asked you to complete Ohara's mission, but I know that you are not willing to listen to what I said. I can only ask you to hide from them. In this case, as long as they can't find you, you won't be hurt. Seeing that Sengoku Admiral was doing it for himself and not letting himself get hurt, Lai Mu thought that there was no need to hide from the five elders. They had the courage to face them. Sengoku Admiral, I am very grateful to you for worrying about me, fearing that I will be harmed or punished by them, but you don't have to worry about this, I really am not afraid of them. Kizaru still wants to help Sengoku Admiral to persuade Lai Mu, that is, even if Lai Mu is not afraid of the World War House five elders, he still hopes that Lai Mu can avoid them. After all, they are also the leaders of the Marine headquarters. Lai Mu is just a small vice admiral, and he cannot confront them head-on. Lai Mu, even if you are no longer willing to listen to them, you should stay away and go back to the dormitory as soon as possible. Lai Mu shook his head and stood there waiting for the five elders from the World War Palace to arrive. Sengoku Admiral and Kizaru did not expect that Lai Mu's temper would be so stubborn. No matter how they tried to persuade him, they could not persuade him to move him. The two of them also wanted to take Lai Mu back to the dormitory together. Before the two of them started, they heard the sound of the ship's whistle coming from the sea. The ship's whistle was particularly loud. Point 119. The five elders want to personally discipline Lai Mu. Amazing video. 0/447. 119. The five elders want to personally discipline Lai Mu. When everyone looked up the beach, they noticed that the ship coming was the ship of the five elders of the World War House. Seeing that the five elders of the World War House were coming, Sengoku Admiral became even more anxious, hoping that Lai Mu would listen to him and leave the beach as soon as possible. Lai Mu, why can't you listen to me? I have always regarded you as my student. Don't you even listen to the teacher's words? Lai Mu patted Sengoku Admiral on the shoulder, hoping that he would leave everything to him. Even if he is his teacher, now as his student, he can protect him well and prevent him from suffering any damage. Don't worry, I'm really not afraid of them. Leave everything to me. Seeing that Lai Mu just refused to listen to him and insisted on his own ideas, Sengoku Admiral really had no choice but to stand there with Lai Mu and Kizaru and wait for the five elders to arrive on the beach. Soon the boat docked on the coast, and five old people got off the boat. Some of the five people were holding crutches, some were slightly taller, and some were slightly shorter. They walked towards Lai Mu one by one. Because when they were standing on the boat, they also noticed that Lai Mu was on the beach. There is one of the 5 elders who admires Lai Mu quite a bit, so when he comes this time, he really does not want to punish Lai Mu or hurt Lai Mu. I just followed the other 5 elders and came to see Lai Mu. Akainu and Porosalino, who were standing not far away, were really happy. They were thinking that someone finally came to teach Lai Mu a lesson and take care of Lai Mu. Otherwise, Lai Mu it's really abominable. Lai Mu noticed the 5 elders, one of whom was walking towards him with a smile, while the other 4 had gloomy expressions on their faces. Lai Mu knew that one was one of the 5 elders who was conquered by his own strength at that time. It is estimated that when he comes this time, he really will not punish himself or hurt himself. After Sengoku Admiral saw them, he could only step forward to say hello. He hurried forward to greet them and said with a smile. 5 elders, you are here. One of the 5 elders holding a cane was really dissatisfied with the Sengoku Admiral. He raised his cane and wanted to swing it at the Sengoku Admiral. Seeing that the cane was about to hit his teacher, Lai Mu was particularly dissatisfied. Lai Mu thought that this was Marineford, and they seemed to be a little too presumptuous. If you have something to say, why should you hurt others? Seeing that the crutch was about to fall on Sengoku Admiral, Lai Mu kicked forward instantly. The sand and gravel on the ground instantly rolled up and floated directly towards the 5 elders who had just raised the crutch. His eyes were instantly fascinated, and the crutch in his hand could no longer hit Sengoku Admiral. I could only throw away the crutches and rub his eyes. The 5 elders who particularly admired Lai Mu worshipped Lai Mu even more. They didn't expect that Lai Mu's feet were really powerful. With such a light kick, the sand and stones flew over in an instant. And hit one of the 5 elders, causing his eyes to be mesmerized. Sengoku Admiral was relieved when he saw that the crutch did not hit him. He also knew that the 5 elders of the World War Palace were very powerful. If he really hit himself with the crutch, he might have to die during this period. Go have a good rest. Please give me flowers. After 5 elders, who was holding a cane, rubbed his eyes, he glared at Lai Mu even more viciously. He felt that Lai Mu, as a small vice admiral, was really unworthy of him. He actually looked down upon himself as a leader and hurt himself like this. I said that you, a little vice admiral, are really rude and do not obey the orders of the leader. Are you worthy of being our marine? 5 elders said loudly. Seeing the 5 elders questioning him, Lai Mu thought that of course he was worthy, otherwise how could he be promoted by them now instead of being kicked out of the marine headquarters? Whether I am worthy of sitting in this position, what do you think? The 5 elders were very surprised. They did not expect that Lai Mu would actually ask this question to them, which made them not know how to answer Lai Mu. Seeing that they were silent, Lai Mu burst out laughing. Of course I am worthy of sitting in this position. It was you who promoted me. Although I was just a small soldier before, isn't it just because I did things well that you promoted me? Otherwise how can I become a vice admiral now? Seeing that Lai Mu is so sharp-tongued, the 5 elders holding a cane no longer want to meet Lai Mu. Now he just wants to ask Lai Mu again. Since he has promoted him, should he? To obey your own destiny. 120. Lai Mu negotiates terms with 5 elders. 120. Lai Mu negotiates terms with 5 elders. Whatever you tell him to do, he should do it. Well, I want to tell you now to send the Golden Lion to the Impel Down, and then complete Ohara's mission. Can you obey? If you can't obey, get out of the marine headquarters. Quote. Lai Mu feels that the words of the 5 elders in front of him are really ridiculous. They always order themselves with that arrogant attitude. Although they are just a small vice admiral, they still hope that they can be polite to him. The more they behave like this, the less they will listen to the 763 and others. I'm sorry, I really can't listen to you, but I won't leave this marine headquarters. Even if you drive me to leave, will the other 5 elders be willing to drive me to leave? After Lai Mu said this, he looked at the 5 elders who had been conquered by him with very confident eyes. The conquered 5 elders also showed a smile and nodded slowly. Because Lai Mu is very confident, it will stand on its side. As long as there is someone who doesn't rush me to leave, it is impossible for me to leave here. The 5 elders holding the cane laughed loudly. He was thinking about such an unruly vice admiral. It is estimated that not only himself, but also other people would not welcome him. I heard that you are really not very good at the marine headquarters. You often bully others, so it is impossible for us to keep a vice admiral like you. We must kick you out of the marine headquarters. Lai Mu became a little curious. He was wondering who told the 5 elders in front of him that he often bullied marines and was an upright person. It seemed that he had never done such a thing before. Even if he wants to leave here, he must find out who has slandered him. I'm really curious. Who reported me to you, saying that I often bullied the soldiers at marine headquarters? You can call them all over and ask me if I have done anything like this. Such a thing. Now Akainu and Pelusalino were not far away. They heard Lai Mu asking the 5 elders. They also wanted to leave the beach immediately. Because if they stay here and are seen by the 5 elders of the World War House, they will definitely testify against them. Just as the 2 people were about to leave, 5 elders, who was holding a cane, looked around and saw Akainu and Porosalino. He pointed at Akainu and Pelusalino with his cane. They just went to my World War Palace and told us about your various behaviors and how bad you were at the marine headquarters. Lai Mu did not expect that Akainu and Porosalino would slander her like this. Pelusalino informed Sengoku Admiral about the challenge that he and Akainu wanted to challenge the day before, and now they went to tell the World War House. 5 elders. Lai Mu was really very angry, but for the time being he had to endure his anger first, and then he would settle the accounts with the two of them. Akainu and Porcelino didn't know what to say, and they didn't know whether they should stay on the beach or go back to their dormitory. Lai Mu showed a smile and looked at the five elders with a smile. Even if the two of them said all kinds of things about me, they are just two mouths. There are thousands of Marines in the Marine headquarters. Why can't they ask them one by one? How did I behave, and what did I do? Is it really what they say it is? The five elders in front of them did not expect that Lai Mu actually asked him to patrol thousands of Marines. He also wanted to tell Lai Mu that he did not have that spare time. I'm telling you, my time is really valuable, but I don't have that much time. Seeing him saying that he didn't have time, Lai Mu knew that he just hoped that he could give in and complete what they asked. But what he needed now was for them to be polite to him, and he really might as well do it. Just say it. Don't you just want me to send the Golden Lion to impel down, and then complete Ohara's mission? I can agree to it, but I have conditions. Seeing that Lai Mu also said that he wanted to negotiate conditions for 0.5, the five elders holding the crutches were naturally dissatisfied. He was wondering why a little Vice Admiral wanted to negotiate conditions with them. If he didn't obey, hurry up. Get lost. You still want to negotiate terms with us? We are very dissatisfied with you now and want to kick you out of the Marine headquarters. Otherwise, you should get out of here. Sengoku Admiral knows that even if Lai Mu puts forward the conditions, they are probably not that high. He really hopes that the World War House five elders can think about it carefully and never lose a Vice Admiral like Lai Mu. Point 121. Lai Mu takes five elders into Kamui space. 121. Lai Mu takes five elders into Kamui space. Because Lai Mu is really quite powerful, maybe he will help them solve more pirates. Five elders, please think about it carefully. Lai Mu is really a good soldier. How about you listen to what Lai Mu's conditions are? Maybe his conditions are not that high. Seeing that the Sengoku Admiral in front of him wanted to make himself, including other five elders, agree to Lai Mu's conditions, the five elders holding the crutch became angry again, and he wanted to swing it at Sengoku Admiral again. Although Sengoku Admiral has some qualifications as an admiral and is very powerful against pirates, he just doesn't dare to resist the 15-year-old five elders. Seeing that his former majestic teacher was being bullied like this, Lai Mu still planned to fight in front of him. Lai Mu thinks that these five elders just want to order him with an arrogant attitude. Then he will give him a good look at how powerful he is and put it into the Kamui space. Let him have a good face-to-face with Bullet and Golden Lion. Lai Mu raised his fist, took his powerful steps and rushed towards the five elders holding the cane. When the five elders saw Lai Mu's fist, they rushed towards them. Without much fear, they raised their crutches and wanted to hit Lai Mu's hand. He was thinking that as long as it hurt Lai Mu's hand, couldn't he swing his fist and hurt himself? But he didn't expect how powerful Lai Mu's fist was, and Lai Mu had already developed his Kamui space and wanted to receive the five elders into the Kamui space. A beam of light shone on five elders. In an instant, five elders was wrapped in layers of wind, causing him to disappear immediately in front of everyone. Only his wailing scream was heard, and his crutch that had not hit Lai Mu was left on the beach. Everyone was stunned there, wondering where the five elders on crutches had gone. Only Sengoku Admiral who was standing aside knew about it, and he quickly shook Lai Mu's arm. Lai Mu, how can you do this? Lai Mu was thinking why he couldn't do it. He had already bullied his teacher. Lai Mu just wanted to teach him some lessons and take them to the Kamui space. Teacher, I just want to teach him some lessons and let him get along well with the Golden Lion Bullet to see if he, the five elders in the highest realm of the World War Palace, can defeat these two very powerful people. He is a powerful pirate. Seeing that Lai Mu still didn't realize his mistake, Sengoku Admiral thought that he must order Lai Mu now to release the five elders quickly, otherwise he would really have to settle the score. Lai Mu, obey me and release those five elders quickly. Lai Mu was thinking that he had just taken it in, how could he let it out, and thought he should wait a little. Teacher, don't be in a hurry, just wait a moment. Lai Mu once again looked at the other five elders. One of the five elders naturally had nothing to fear. Because he admires Lai Mu very much and supports everything Lai Mu does. He knows that Lai Mu will not harm him, and he will not go to those people to punish Lai Mu. The other five elders were in a daze for a long time before slowly coming back to their senses. Although they have come to their senses and know that the five elders must have been hurt by Lai Mu just now, they are still very stubborn now. Lai Mu, hurry up and release that five elders on crutches. This is really too presumptuous. Yes, if you don't come out, we will treat you as a pirate today and send you to impel down. Lai Mu is thinking that it depends on whether they have the ability to send him into impel down. He will really release the Golden Lion Bullet before they send him into impel down. Let them also have a good chaos. Take a look at the Marine headquarters or the World War Palace. How can they clean up this mess by then? Then give it a try. Seeing Lai Mu speaking with conviction, Sengoku Admiral was wondering what the hell Lai Mu was doing and why was he acting like this. The other five elders standing in front of Lai Mu really didn't expect that Lai Mu was so courageous and asked them to give it a try. It seems that they really should order these vice admirals to subdue Lai Mu and impel him down. Where's the guy? Hurry up and take him to impel down. Lai Mu raised his fist, wanting to tell them that he was going to release the Golden Lion Bullet now. It can be regarded as giving them a chance to think carefully about whether they want to be polite to themselves or whether they really want to cause chaos in Marineford's Marine headquarters. Point 122. 5 elders agreed to Lai Mu's conditions. 122. 5 elders agreed to Lai Mu's conditions. You can send me to impel down, but now I want to tell you, I want to release Golden Lion Bullet, even if I am tortured, I will not let you stop, and I will let those pirates give you some lessons learned. Seeing Lai Mu saying that he wanted to release the Golden Lion Bullet, the 5 elders were naturally unwilling. Because Lai Mu was going to open its Kamui space that day, they were sitting in the lobby, and even the decorations and crystal chandeliers in the lobby were shattered to pieces. Now if they really want to release Golden Lion and Bullet, they know what the consequences will be. The 5 elders roared, Lai Mu, you are really nonsense, you are really nonsense. Lai Mu was thinking that they were treating her like this, so what if she just messed around with them? I know if I'm doing this or it's nonsense, it may really hurt many marines and admirals, including some marshals, and even you, but you want to send me to impel down and put me in harm's way. How can I make things easier for you here? Seeing Lai Mu say this, the 5 elders really didn't know what to do. They were thinking that if they couldn't subdue Lai Mu now, and if they didn't, it would be impossible. How should they do it? Lai Mu also smiled, feeling that now that he had been training for a long time, he could really go back to the dormitory and take a good rest. Maybe after a good sleep, the 5 elders in Kamui space will be taught a terrible lesson by Golden Lion and Bullet. When the time comes, release it and let other people take a good look at it to see if they are still polite to you in the future. Sengoku Admiral, I am really tired. Now I will go back to my dormitory to rest. Lai Mu said this and was about to leave. Sengoku Admiral was thinking that things have become like this now, and everyone has noticed this scene. Lai Mu took one of the 5 elders into the Kamui space. Does it mean that he is still in the mood to go back to his own room to sleep? Lai Mu, can you really fall asleep when you go back to your room? Seeing Sengoku Admiral asking himself, Lai Mu smiled and nodded. Lai Mu was thinking that he really didn't care about those people, so how could it affect his rest? Yes, Sengoku Admiral, I will go back first if I can fall asleep. After Lai Mu said this, he was about to leave, but the 5 elders immediately stopped Lai Mu. In any case, it was impossible for them to watch their companions being harmed by Lai Mu in Kamui space, so they still planned to have a good discussion with Lai Mu. Lai Mu, stay with me. Seeing them calling him, Lai Mu wondered if they were going to give in to him. If he gives in, he might release the 5 elders right away. Lai Mu slowly turned around and looked at them with a smile. What's wrong? Is there something wrong? Lai Mu didn't intend to ask them whether they could agree to the conditions he proposed. He just wanted to show in front of them that he didn't care about anything. Because they are powerful, they can't bully them, and they can't even hurt themselves if they want to. Lai Mu, we still want to talk to you, that is, we will be polite to you in the future, and we will also be polite to you. I hope you can release the 5 elders received in Kamui space as soon as possible. Seeing them say this, Lai Mu wondered if they could really guarantee it. Or should I say that once I released the 5 elders, their expressions immediately changed. Although you are talking, I really don't believe it. I hope to see your actions. As long as you are not polite, I will not be able to release the 5 elders in Kamui space. Seeing Lai Mu telling them like this made them furious, but they had no choice but to nod their heads one by one. You can rest assured about this. For the 5 elders, we will be polite to you no matter what. Please put forward any other conditions you have. 5 elders said helplessly. Seeing them Liao Wanghao so happy now, Lai Mu was really not used to it. Lai Mu thought that since it was them who asked him to put forward certain conditions, he would have to raise his salary properly with them. Naturally, it is indispensable. And now that I have become a vice admiral, it is normal to raise my salary a little bit. Besides, I also have my own holidays, and occasionally I still want to go out to sea for a good trip. It is impossible to pay for them every day and every night. In that case, you will really lose more than you gain. Let's do this. Take a pen and paper and write it down, and then you sign and fingerprint it. In this case, you probably won't deny it. 123. Lai Mu's handwriting is very good. Amazing video. 0/447. 123. Lai Mu's handwriting is very good. Seeing that Lai Mu asked them to sign and have their fingerprints pressed, all the 5 elders were dissatisfied and unwilling, but they had no choice but to agree to Lai Mu. Sengoku Admiral and Kizaru standing aside were all worried. They were wondering whether the 5 elders in front of them would really agree to Lai Mu one by one. Lai Mu didn't care so much, he just waited slowly. Anyway, he had already used Kamui space to bring in one of the 5 elders. If they don't agree, you can go back to the dormitory now and have a good rest. The person who was hurt and tortured was really not me, but the 5 elders. Anyway, he treated me and Sengoku Admiral like this, which made me very uncomfortable. It would also be good to let him enter the Kamui dimension and be tortured by Bullet and Golden Lion. I said you are still from the World War House. You are really slow to do things. Have you thought about it well? If not, I will go back to the dormitory to have a good rest. Please let me know when you think about it. Lai Mu put down these words and was about to leave the beach. How could the 5 elders miss this opportunity? They immediately stopped Lai Mu again. Lai Mu, stop, Sengoku Admiral, please take us to your office to sign and have our fingerprints pressed. Seeing them say this, Sengoku Admiral and Kizaru were both surprised. They did not expect that the 5 elders actually agreed. Lai Mu showed a happy smile and planned to follow them, watch them write down these conditions in person, then press their fingerprints and sign their names. If they agree, Then they will get it done as soon as possible, BFDH, and then they will release the 5 elders. Akainu and Porsalino, who were not far away, were particularly unwilling. They did not expect that even after calling the 5 elders from the World War House, they still had no way to control Lai Mu and had to agree to Lai Mu these unreasonable conditions. Then Akainu rushed forward again, hoping that the 5 elders of World War Palace could think about it carefully. 5 elders, what do you think? Why do you still agree to these conditions of Lai Mu? A vice admiral like him should send him to the impel down. He suffers the same torture as those pirates. Seeing Akainu say these words, Lai Mu did not expect that for Ohara mission, Akainu would hate himself so much and even let the 5 elders of the World War Palace send him to impel down. Lai Mu also looked at him with disdain. Lai Mu was thinking that one day she should really find a chance to compete with him, and let him know that he is just not as good as herself, so there is confidence in acting arbitrarily. How could the other 5 elders of the World War Palace listen to Akainu's words now? After all, one of their companions has been taken into the Kamui space by Lai Mu, and they have no time to think about other things. They can only agree to the conditions proposed by Lai Mu first, and then ask him to rescue their companions as soon as possible, otherwise, the companions may really die in the Kamui space. Go away, shut your mouth, and don't disturb our affairs. The 5 elders glared at him and followed Sengoku Admiral and Lai Mu to Sengoku Admiral's office. Sengoku Admiral didn't come back to his senses for a while. Although he led them to his office, he always felt as if this kind of thing could never happen. He never thought that Lai Mu could conquer this World War Palace. 5 elders. Arriving at Sengoku Admiral's office, Sengoku Admiral took out a pen and paper, but he didn't know who should write these conditions on it. Lai Mu looked directly at the pen and paper first, and then at the 5 elders. 5 elders, please write down all these conditions. Let me tell you how you do it. Seeing Lai Mu say this, they were thinking about how they could take a pen to write these conditions on paper now that they were all very angry, because their hands were shaking with anger. Seeing that each of them was so angry that their mouths were trembling slightly and their hands were shaking, Lai Mu smiled. 5 elders, I really didn't expect that you are so old and you are so angry with me. Otherwise, let me write this, and finally you sign your name and fingerprint. That's it. After Lai Mu spoke, he took a pen and started writing on the white paper. Lai Mu is a vice admiral at the Marine headquarters, but his handwriting is really clean and neat, and it is also quite beautiful, which made Sengoku Admiral and Kizaru standing aside with admiration. Especially Kizaru, he really wanted to praise Lai Mu and patted Lai Mu on the shoulder. Point 124. Golden Lion Bullet beats 5 elders. Amazing video. 0/447. 124. Golden Lion Bullet beats 5 elders. Lai Mu didn't expect that your handwriting is really beautiful. Seeing Kizaru praising him, Lai Mu shook his head with a smile and pushed the written conditions to the 5 elders. After the 5 elders saw it, the 3 of them sighed, and they could only take the pen and write their names one by one, and then press their fingerprints. Seeing that they had done everything well, Lai Mu was really satisfied. Well, since you have signed this agreement, let me keep the agreement. If you deny it one day, I can really air this agreement. Now let's go to the beach. Up there, I will release the 5 elders I received in the Kamui space. 11. Seeing that Lai Mu kept his word, several people also wanted to follow Lai Mu and go to the beach as soon as possible to let him release their companions. Lai Mu took a few people and returned to the beach again. At this time, the 5 elders in Kamui space did meet the Golden Lion and Bullet. Golden Lion and Bullet were also particularly surprised. They were wondering if this was the 5 elders from the World War Palace. The 2 people looked at him with surprised faces. They were thinking that in this Kamui space, the only common income was pirates, so why would someone from the World War Palace appear now? The 5 elders also saw the 2 of them, but they were still not too scared. They didn't want to pay attention to them, and they still yelled and wanted to leave the Kamui space. But Golden Lion laughed loudly. I really didn't expect that people from the World War Palace would be admitted to this Kamui space, but you have been admitted. It's not that easy to get out. Unless the person who took you in wants to let you out, then you will go out. Although the Golden Lion said this, the 5 elders in front of them were still unwilling to pay attention. But Bullet was thinking about him and Golden Lion. It seemed that they really should teach the World War House a lesson. Maybe after cleaning him up, he would be hurt, and they would really let him and the Golden Lion out. Golden Lion, why don't we seize this opportunity now to teach this man a lesson? As long as we hurt him a little more badly, people outside don't want him to be hurt. Maybe he will really be hurt. We were let out. Golden Lion heard what Bullet said and felt that it made sense. It seemed that no matter whether they could be released or not, as long as they were born, it would be good. The 2 people began to wave their fists, and also used some of their fruit power to teach the 5 elders in front of them a lesson. Although the 5 elders in front of them are usually very tough and are the leaders of the highest realm of the World War Palace, they really don't train very much, so their current strength is simply not comparable to that of a marshal or an admiral. Including these pirates. The 5 elders also want to use their own strength to fight against them, but their own strength seems to be really low now and they can't fight against the Golden Lion and Bullet in front of them. Golden Lion and Bullet used their fruit power to really teach the 5 elders in front of them a hard lesson, causing him to suffer a lot of injuries all over his body, and even beating him so hard that he screamed in the Kamui space. Please give me flowers. After Lai Mu and the others came to the beach, the 5 elders were already anxious. They really hoped that Lai Mu could free their companions as soon as possible. Lai Mu, hurry up. Don't let it take too long and our companions will be really hurt. Seeing them urging him, Lai Mu nodded, but still told them to give in. After all, the moment he opens Kamui space, Golden Lion or Bullet may also escape. 0. Whenever they escape, they will have some power, and it may really hurt people like them. You should take a few steps back and stay a little further away from me. When Lai Mu said this, they all understood what Lai Mu meant. 012015194880. Because when Lai Mu opens the Kamui space, there will definitely be a lot of shock, and it may actually hurt them. Everyone was walking backwards in a smart way, waiting for Lai Mu to open the Kamui space. Seeing that they were also far away from him, Lai Mu raised his fist, and the fist burst into light, opening the Kamui space in an instant. Golden Lion and Bullet in Kamui space also saw the exit. They stopped hitting the 5 elders with their fists and tried their best to escape to the exit. However, the 5 elders also saw the exit, and he instantly used his fruit power to rush out of the Kamui space first. Seeing this, the 5 elders understood enough to rush out of the Kamui space, and Lai Mu put his fist back for a long time. 125. Lai Mu comforts the injured 5 elders. 125. Lai Mu comforts the injured 5 elders. The 2 people Golden Lion and Bullet did not escape again. The 2 people Golden Lion and Bullet wanted to rush out, and some of their power was really released. A lot of sand and gravel were instantly stirred up on the beach, and a storm arose. Everyone's eyes were mesmerized, and they were even blown to the ground by the wind. The 5 elders who escaped also fell to the ground. Because they had just been badly injured by Golden Lion and Bullet, he was in special pain all over his body. Although the power of Golden Lion and Bullet was released a little bit, it was only temporary. Soon the storm and the sand and rocks subsided a lot. Blowing and scraping. When the 5 elders saw their companion being released, they rushed to his side and tried to help him up. But I didn't expect that when I met him, he would show his teeth and scream, because he was really beaten all over his body just now. Seeing him yelling like this, Lai Mu knew that Bullet and Golden Lion must not have let him down and must have taught him a terrible lesson. Lai Mu was thinking that he had signed the agreement just now, and now that he had released it, there was really no need for him to stay on the beach all the time. 5 elders, then you should take this 5 elders back to your World War Palace as soon as possible to have a good rest. We will discuss it again someday. I will send the Golden Lion to the Impel Down, and then after completing Ohara's mission, I will not accompany you and go back to the room to rest. Hearing what Lai Mu said, the 5 elders who had just come out of the Lai Mu Kamui space were also particularly surprised. He was thinking that Lai Mu was very opposed to completing what they ordered before, so why is he like this now? Did you agree happily? He looked at the other 5 elders with confusion, and the other 5 elders didn't know how to explain to him. After all, they were embarrassed at the Marineford Marine headquarters, and they actually agreed to Lai Mu's unreasonable conditions. Why don't you guys say anything? Did you agree to some of his conditions? Seeing the injured 5 elders questioning them so desperately, the other 5 elders didn't know how to answer. Lai Mu was already walking towards his dormitory, but how could these 5 elders let Lai Mu leave? He thought the other 5 elders didn't tell him. Then he would know from Lai Mu's mouth what exactly they promised Lai Mu. Lai Mu, stop, stop. Hearing him shouting to himself, he was also so hysterical. Lai Mu slowly turned around and said with a smile. What's wrong 5 elders, you're already injured like this, and you're still asking me to do something? Lai Mu asked curiously. I ask you, why did you agree to us so readily, send the Golden Lion to the Impel Down, and complete Ohara's mission? Seeing him still asking, Lai Mu was thinking that the matter had been put before him, didn't he still understand what was going on? It seemed that I had to give him a good look at the agreement in my hand, so Lai Mu showed the agreement directly. The 5 elders were really not that far away from Lai Mu. He clearly saw what was written in the agreement, and agreed to the holidays that Lai Mu should have, as well as the exact salary. He was very surprised. He did not expect that Lai Mu would put forward such unreasonable conditions, and his companion would agree to it. He doesn't want to lose his temper with Lai Mu now, he always wants to ask his companions what they think. He turned around quickly and said frantically, let me tell you, what do you think? Why did you agree to his rude conditions? Lai Mu felt that he really didn't know a good person's heart, and his companions had to do this for him and to let him go. Now not only does he not understand his companion, he actually yells at his companion like this. I guess his companion must be feeling particularly uncomfortable in his heart. The other 5 elders could only persuade him first, planning to let him follow them back to the World War Palace. As long as they returned there, they would think of some other countermeasures in 5.7 to deal with Lai Mu. The 3 of them came to the crazy 5 elders again. Let's go back first. Yes, after we go back, we will think of other ways to deal with Lai Mu. Seeing his companions whispering to him like this, the 5 elders could only sigh. Instead of arguing with Lai Mu, he was supported by his companions and walked towards the side of the boat. After seeing them leave, Lai Mu looked at the Sengoku Admiral with a smile, feeling that he could really go back to his dormitory to rest now. 126. Sengoku Admiral severely criticized Lai Mu. Amazing video. 0/447. 126. Sengoku Admiral severely criticized Lai Mu. Sengoku Admiral, I will go back to the dormitory to rest. Sengoku Admiral knew that Lai Mu was quite proud now. After all, He had just used his strength to annoy several five elders. But has he ever thought about what to do in the future? What if these five elders want to settle accounts with him in the future? Lai Mu, stop here. You are not allowed to go back to the dormitory with me to rest for the time being. Now follow me to my office. I must have a good chat with you. Seeing that Sengoku Admiral became serious, Lai Mu was really curious about what Sengoku Admiral wanted from him. But since Sengoku Admiral has spoken, he can only follow it. Kizaru standing aside could probably guess why Sengoku Admiral was so serious and wanted to take Lai Mu to the office. He thought he should go with Lai Mu 15. If Sengoku Admiral really wanted to reprimand Lai Mu, he could offer some more persuasion. Seeing Kizaru following him, Sengoku Admiral glared at him and said loudly. Go to train well, or else go back to your dormitory and have a good rest. Don't follow me and Lai Mu. Lai Mu looked at Kizaru with a smile and shrugged his shoulders. Kizaru, please don't follow me. I'll just follow Sengoku Admiral back. Lai Mu quickened his pace and followed Sengoku Admiral's pace. The two of them returned to Sengoku Admiral's office one after another. Akainu and Porcelino were very curious. What on earth was Sengoku Admiral going to do when he brought Lai Mu back to the office? The two of them also quickened their pace and wanted to follow up, but were stopped by Kizaru. You two, stop here and let me ask you, how did Lai Mu offend you and why did you go to complain to the five elders of the World War House? Akainu and Porcelino are now grasshoppers on the same line. When the two saw Kizaru asking this question, they were naturally dissatisfied and stared at Kizaru fiercely. Although they are two people, Kizaru is also very brave and is really not afraid of them. I'm telling you, you two don't have to stare at me like this. Even if you stare at me, I'm not afraid of you. It's really abominable for you to do this. You actually like to make snitches so much. I won't be afraid of you in the future. Will Lai Mu settle accounts with you? Just wait. After Kizaru said that, he didn't want to train anymore. He felt that he and Lai Mu had trained for a long time just now, and now he could really go back to the dormitory and take a good rest. After hearing Kizaru say that Lai Mu might go to settle accounts with them, Akainu and Porcelino were really a little scared in their hearts. After Lai Mu followed Sengoku Admiral back to the office, he also sat there and said with a smile. Sengoku Admiral, what do you want to talk to me about? Although Lai Mu looked a little playful and smiling, he knew in his heart that it was possible that Sengoku Admiral just wanted to talk to him seriously. Seeing Lai Mu sitting there with a smile on her face, Sengoku Admiral said loudly. Lai Mu, stand up and be serious. When Sengoku Admiral asked him to stand up, Lai Mu was willing to obey him. Lai Mu stood up slowly, standing there intending to listen to what Sengoku Admiral was going to say to him. Sengoku Admiral also pondered for a long time and finally spoke. Lai Mu, I really didn't expect you to be so brave, dare to compete with the five elders of the World War Palace, and negotiate terms with them. Do you know that they have agreed to you now, in case you come back in the future? I thought of some way to subdue you, even more so to make you punished, what should I do? Seeing that Sengoku Admiral was so serious about himself because he was worried about himself, he even told himself that serious consequences might occur in the future. 477 But I will still promise Sengoku Admiral that I will not let myself be harmed in any way. Sengoku Admiral, don't worry about this. Even if they let me be punished, do I really have to endure it? And I believe they don't dare. Sengoku Admiral really didn't expect that he had led so many Marine soldiers, but Lai Mu was the only one who was so courageous, stubborn, and very determined in his ideas. No matter what I said, there seemed to be really no way to persuade him. Seeing that Sengoku Admiral was helpless against him, Lai Mu burst out laughing. Sengoku Admiral, I know you are worried about me, but you really don't have to be like this, can you rest assured? Lai Mu told himself one sentence after another to reassure himself, and Sengoku Admiral didn't want to say anything more. He could only nodded slowly, intending to let Lai Mu be more careful. Point 127. Lai Mu needs a helper. 127. Lai Mu needs a helper. Lai Mu, I brought you up single-handedly. I really don't want to see you get hurt in any way, but things have reached this point. You just need to be more careful about everything. Do you understand? Seeing that Sengoku Admiral had asked him so much, Lai Mu nodded, and really wanted to ask Sengoku Admiral if he could go back to the dormitory and have a good rest now. Sengoku Admiral Kizaru and I have been training for a long time just now. Can I go back and take a rest now? Sengoku Admiral nodded and waved his hand, indicating that Lai Mu could leave his office. Seeing that Sengoku Admiral stopped talking so much and that he could leave, Lai Mu immediately turned around and left Sengoku Admiral's office. After going out, I bumped into Akainu and Porcelino. Seeing the two of them, Lai Mu also had a ball of anger in his heart, and he wanted to spread it on them right away. I feel that the mouths of the two of them are really annoying, and they seem to have lived at the beach for a long time, so they are really a bit lenient. Lai Mu's eyes stared at them angrily. Porcelino was really frightened, but Akainu was not that scared. He hasn't played against Lai Mu yet, so he really doesn't know how powerful Lai Mu is. But Porcelino was different. This time he went with Lai Mu to complete the mission, and he also saw Lai Mu's power at sea. There was no way he could deal with the bullet, but Lai Mu was different. He subdued the bullet without much effort. And when Lai Mu fought against Bullet, he also noticed that Lai Mu's fists seemed to be more powerful every time, so now that Lai Mu looked at him with this look, Porcelino felt very guilty. Afraid that Lai Mu would retaliate against himself and Akainu, the two of them went to the World War House and filed a complaint against Lai Mu. It is estimated that Lai Mu must be particularly dissatisfied now. Poor Salino pulled Akainu, thinking that the two of them should leave Lai Mu immediately, but Akainu still raised his chest and raised his head, turning his eyes to Lai Mu. Very unconvinced Zhuang. Seeing his look, Lai Mu thought that she should really ask him if he particularly wanted to compete with her. Lai Mu walked to Akainu with relaxed steps. I said Akainu, I really didn't expect that your mouth is really disgusting. I can't wait to slap you twice right now. Quote. Seeing Lai Mu trying to slap his mouth, Akainu was still unconvinced. He was wondering why Lai Mu should do it. I said Lai Mu, why do you want to slap my mouth? Why don't you understand? Isn't it because you filed a complaint that the 5 elders from the World War Palace came here? Seeing that Lai Mu was doing this, Akainu burst into laughter. He was thinking that Lai Mu had brought this upon himself. Who made him unwilling to obey orders? Maybe he obeyed the order, and the 5 elders of the World War Palace would not listen to his slander. Yes, it was indeed me who went to complain. Who made you so arrogant and took away my mission? Lai Mu was thinking that since he wanted to complete Ohara's mission so much, she could really give him a chance. Because the World War House 5 elders wants to leave this matter to themselves, it will be impossible for them to go to sea alone to do this well. It is better to bring a few helpers. Lai Mu thinks it is most appropriate to bring him along. After all, it was something he wanted to accomplish, and he had accomplished it, so maybe he should thank himself properly. Since you want to complete Ohara's mission so much, I can really apply to the World War Palace and you can follow me. Quote. Akainu was naturally not satisfied with this opinion put forward by Lai Mu. Akainu was thinking that it was his own initiative to complete the task, and if he followed, he would be just a helper beside him. Even if you get things done, so what? Getting honors and getting high bonuses are all Lai Mu's, and they don't seem to have anything to do with him. He will not help Lai no matter what. Damn it. I'm telling you Lai Mu, if you want me to be your helper, it's impossible. Akainu said clearly. Lai Mu was thinking about this matter and really had no way to make a decision. As long as he brought it up and the World War government wanted to complete Ohara's mission, then they would definitely listen to him. This time you can be my helper appropriately, or not, so I will leave first, and I will inform you when the time comes. After Lai Mu spoke, he left immediately. Akainu was so angry that he stamped his feet and wanted to catch up with Lai Mu, but poor Salino held him back. Forget it, don't confront Lai Mu again. Lai Mu is really powerful. 128. 5 elders changes the routine. 128. 5 elders changes the routine. Akainu shook off poor Salino's hand. He didn't believe that Lai Mu was that powerful, nor did he believe that Lai Mu could do this well. He glared at poor Salino and left directly. Poor Salino sighed. Lai Mu returned to his dormitory and felt that the things he did today really made him feel happy. Especially when they agreed to their rude conditions, I felt very happy just thinking about it. He took out the agreement again and looked at it carefully. After watching it for a while, Lai Mu took a breath and felt that he was still a little sleepy and should take a nap instead. After waking up, I went to ask Kizaru and we went to have something to eat together. Lai Mu closed his eyes, put the agreement aside, and fell asleep. The 5 elders of the World War Palace, after the 5 of them went back together, they decided to discuss and think of some ways to deal with Lai Mu well. I feel that this Lai Mu cannot be kept, but I just don't know how to solve it. I asked you, what are your ideas? Do you really want to agree to his unreasonable conditions? Seeing that they had suffered a lot of injuries and were very angry, the 5 elders asked them. The other 5 elders nodded slowly, thinking that Lai Mu should be locked up in the impel down so that she would never be seen again. Tianri, in this case, he was subdued. Even if he is not dead, he has lost his freedom. Isn't he going to send the Golden Lion to the impel down? Then let him be locked up in the impel down, and let the marine soldiers torture him there so that he will never see the light of day. Lost freedom forever. Seeing one of the 5 elders put forward such an opinion, the injured 5 elders nodded slowly, feeling that it made sense, and it seemed that this was the only way to go. But the 5 elders who admire Lai Mu very much, are you thinking that you really want to join forces with them to harm Lai Mu? It seems that I really can't do it. I feel that Lai Mu is indeed a good vice admiral. It seems that I should still help Lai Mu. I feel like it's really inappropriate to do this. The 5 elders were very curious about what this 5 elder meant, and they all looked at him. What do you mean? Do you still want to keep vice admiral like this? He is really hateful, and we don't seem to be able to control him. Yes, if he is not subdued, he will become even more lawless in the future. I know that Lai Mu should be subdued, but have you ever thought about what to do with Ohara's mission? Don't you point at Lai Mu to complete Ohara's mission? Quote. Seeing him mentioning Ohara's mission, the other 5 elders felt that it made sense. There were indeed many marine soldiers, BFCI, Vice Admiral and Admiral Marshal who could not do this well. It seems that they really should let Lai Mu get things done first, and then they can deal with Lai Mu properly. What you said makes sense, then let's let Lai Mu complete Ohara's mission first, and then key it into impel down. In this way, we can make a profit. The 5 elders who were helping Lai Mu also breathed a sigh of relief. They felt that they had helped Lai Mu for the time being and saved Lai Mu. They could only visit Lai Mu in the future. I'll order you down in a moment, tell Lai Mu to get ready as soon as possible, and then go to sea to complete Ohara's mission. Seeing that the injured five elders had already mentioned this matter, the other five elders nodded and decided to call Sengoku Admiral soon and ask Sengoku Admiral to inform Lai Mu. Sengoku Admiral was processing these documents in his office. After receiving the call, he was also very surprised. He did not expect that the people from the World War House actually changed their routine and asked Lai Mu to complete Ohara's mission first, and then go and get the Golden Lion after he came back. Send it to impel down. Sengoku Admiral was really confused, but he was his leader, and he had no choice but to obey them. He could only follow their instructions and give Lai Mu instructions to do this as soon as possible. Don't worry, leader, I will inform Lai Mu. After Sengoku Admiral hung up the phone, he wanted to go to Lai Mu's dormitory. He knew that it was late and everyone had to have dinner, so he could invite Lai Mu and the two of them would eat and chat. He immediately sorted out his documents, left his office, and rushed to Lai Mu's dormitory. Lai Mu had fallen into a deep sleep at this time. After slowly opening his eyes, he saw that it was getting late, so he first put away his copy of the agreement. This agreement is of great benefit to you, so you must keep it well and never lose it. Point 129. Lai Mu has one more condition. 129. Lai Mu has one more condition. After placing the agreement, Lai Mu arranged his clothes, opened the door and planned to go out, calling Kizaru. Unexpectedly, as soon as the door opened, I saw the figure of Sengoku Admiral. He also waved like Sengoku Admiral and greeted Sengoku Admiral with a smile. Sengoku Admiral, what are you doing here in our dormitory? Of course I came to call you. I want to eat something with you, and chat while eating. Seeing that Sengoku Admiral wanted to eat with him, Lai Mu chuckled and really wanted to give his opinion, that is, whether he could bring Kizaru with him. Can you please call Kizaru so that we can eat together? Naturally, Sengoku Admiral would not object, and nodded with a smile. Well, let's go call Kizaru together. The two of them walked together and headed towards Kizaru's room. Because it was getting late, Kizaru was a little hungry. After opening the door, he saw Lai Mu and Sengoku Admiral walking towards the door of his dormitory. He was really curious whether they were here to call him. Why don't you two come to call me? Lai Mu nodded. Yes, I came to call you. Hearing that Lai Mu said that he was just here to call him, Kizaru thought that he had really guessed it right, and that he would be able to eat by himself in a while. Then let's go quickly, I'm a little hungry. Several people strolled to the canteen together, because Sengoku Admiral wanted to hand over this task to Lai Mu, so he thought he should treat the guests tonight. Go get some more delicious food and eat with Lai Mu and Kizaru. Several people went directly to the canteen and went to the window to get some delicious food, but Sengoku Admiral stopped Lai Mu and Kizaru. You two go find a seat. I will treat you today. I will order you a lot of things you like to eat. Seeing Sengoku Admiral say this, Lai Mu was really curious. Why did Sengoku Admiral become so generous? Does it mean that he has something to say to himself? Or does he want to leave it to himself? Seeing Lai Mu's dazed look, Sengoku Admiral waved his hand again, hoping that he and Kizaru would find a seat quickly. Kizaru thought it would be good for Sengoku Admiral to treat him to a treat, so he also took Lai Mu with him, and the two of them quickly arrived to find a seat. After sitting down, I waited for Sengoku Admiral to come back. Sengoku Admiral really ordered a lot of delicious food. It was hard for one person to carry so much, so he asked the cafeteria staff to help bring it over. Seeing that the food and drinks ordered by Sengoku Admiral were brought over, Lai Mu didn't intend to listen to what Sengoku Admiral was going to say next, and ate with big mouthfuls, because he felt really hungry now. Seeing Lai Mu devouring the food, Sengoku Admiral also drank some juice first and said with a smile. Lai Mu, stop first, I have something to tell you. Lai Mu put down the chopsticks reluctantly, looked at Sengoku Admiral and said directly. Sengoku Admiral, you treated Kizaru and I to so many delicious foods. Do you have something you want to tell me? Why can't you just say it? Please give me flowers. Seeing that Lai Mu asked him to speak directly, Sengoku Admiral also nodded and planned to tell Lai Mu now what he wanted to give him. Kizaru also put down his chopsticks and said, I want to follow Tenjo and listen to it. Lai Mu just received a call from the World War Office. He plans to ask you to prepare and complete Ohara's mission immediately. Hearing this news, Lai Mu was particularly surprised. Lai Mu was wondering what the five elders of the World War Palace meant. Why did they ask themselves to complete Ohara's mission first? Could it be that they were not in a hurry to send the Golden Lion away? Going to impel down. 0. Seeing Lai Mu's somewhat surprised look, Sengoku Admiral also smiled. Lai Mu, are you also curious as to why they changed their routine? Seeing Sengoku Admiral asking himself, Lai Mu nodded honestly, yes, I'm really curious now, but I don't care. Anyway, they have agreed to my conditions, so I will complete Ohara's mission first. But when I go to complete the Ohara mission, I still have a condition. I also hope that you can help me inform the five elders of the World War Palace. Seeing Lai Mu saying that he still had conditions, Sengoku Admiral was thinking that if Lai Mu conveyed the conditions he proposed to the five elders, would the five elders really agree to it? Sengoku Admiral was a little hesitant as to whether he should make this call to the World War House. Seeing Sengoku Admiral not speaking, Lai Mu knew that Sengoku Admiral might also be a little timid towards them. I feel that if Sengoku Admiral can't do it, he can do it himself. Point 130. Lai Mu doesn't need Kizaru as a helper. Amazing video. 0/447. 130. Lai Mu doesn't need Kizaru as a helper. It doesn't matter Sengoku Admiral. I can take the boat and rush to the World War Palace myself to tell them what conditions I want to put forward. Seeing that Lai Mu wanted to tell the 5 elders about this condition on his own, Sengoku Admiral still wanted to listen first. Lai Mu would not go to the World War Palace alone by then. The 5 elders of the World War Palace were setting up a plan. What kind of ambush did Lai Mu fall into? What should I do? I don't want to see things like this, because I have always regarded Lai Mu as the closest person, and I am the 830 who is afraid that Lai Mu will be hurt. Lai Mu, what kind of conditions do you want to put forward to them? Tell me first. I'll see if it's possible. If not, we won't mention it. Sengoku Admiral said something to dissuade Lai Mu, but how could Lai Mu not mention it? When I go out to sea this time to complete Ohara's mission, I must take Akainu with me. I just want him to take a good look when he completes the task. I have this strength, so the 5 elders of the World War House chose me. Don't worry, Sengoku Admiral. I think the 5 elders of the World War Palace will definitely agree to the conditions I proposed. You don't have to worry about anything. Seeing that Lai Mu did not intend to tell him the condition, Sengoku Admiral was very angry and could not even eat the food. It glared at Lai Mu. I said, Lai Mu, why don't you want to hide it from me like this? Can't you tell me? Seeing that Sengoku Admiral was getting angry, Kizaru also patted Lai Mu on the shoulder, hoping that Lai Mu would tell him. Not only Sengoku Admiral, but he also wanted to know. Lai Mu, what conditions do you want to put forward? Tell me, I actually want to know. Seeing Kizaru on the side, he wanted to know very much, so he had no choice but to fulfill them. Actually, there are no conditions. It's just that I can't go to sea alone. I hope the 5 elders of the World War Palace can send that Akainu to go with me. Seeing that Lai Mu chose Akainu, Sengoku Admiral and Kizaru were a little confused. Kizaru was thinking, didn't Lai Mu always regard him as his best friend? Why did he choose a helper when he went to sea and didn't choose himself? Did you choose the pressure? Seeing Kizaru still looking at him with doubtful eyes, Lai Mu smiled slightly. What's wrong, Kizaru? Why are you looking at me like this? Lai Mu, it seems that you really don't consider me a good friend. Why don't you choose me to be your helper? What about Akainu? Don't you and him not get along well? Yes, Lai Mu, what are your thoughts? Why did you choose Akainu this time? Sengoku Admiral asked curiously. Seeing that both Kizaru and Sengoku Admiral were a little curious about his choice of Akainu, he still didn't want to say so much. After all, how could he easily reveal his little thoughts to them? I can only tell them that this is Akainu's wish, and I am just fulfilling it. Sengoku Admiral, you know that Akainu has always had this idea in his heart and wants to complete Ohara's mission, but he is already very dissatisfied when he leaves this matter to me. I think I will let him follow me. Let's complete this mission together, maybe he will feel a lot more comfortable. Seeing that Lai Mu was so considerate of Akainu, Sengoku Admiral nodded slowly. He thought that he could really help Lai Mu inform the 5 elders of the World War House about this condition. Okay, Lai Mu, you don't have to go to the World War House alone. I will convey the conditions you propose to the World War House. Seeing that Sengoku Admiral wanted to help him, Lai Mu nodded. Thank you very much, Sengoku Admiral. Tell them as soon as possible. As long as they agree, I will be ready immediately and go to sea to complete this mission. Lai Mu said please. Seeing that his good friend was about to go to sea to complete the mission again, Kizaru was really reluctant to leave. He wondered if he could also ask Sengoku Admiral to help inform the World War House, and he would also follow Lai Mu. 4.8 inches Sengoku Admiral, please help me apply. I also want to follow Lai Mu to complete Ohara's mission and be Lai Mu's helper. Seeing that Kizaru had such a wish, Sengoku Admiral thought it would be a good idea for the two of them to go to sea together and take care of each other. Okay, don't worry, I will help you apply. Seeing that Sengoku Admiral agreed to Kizaru's condition, Lai Mu hurriedly said. No, Kizaru, you already went to sea with me last time. I just have Akainu as my helper this time. You should just stay here and rest more before completing other tasks. 131. Lai Mu has Kizaru in her heart. 131. Lai Mu has Kizaru in her heart. Seeing that Lai Mu didn't want to take him with him, Kizaru still didn't understand. He was wondering if Lai Mu really didn't treat him as a good friend. He was not even in the mood to eat now. He stood up immediately and stared at Lai Mu with doubtful eyes. Lai Mu, what do you mean? Why don't you take me with you? Wouldn't it be nice for the two of us to take care of each other? Or are you afraid that I will share your credit? I just want to accompany you, not I want to take credit for your achievements. Lai Mu actually understood what Kizaru said, but Lai Mu felt that it was abnormal for the 5 elders to change their routine this time, and he was afraid that there would be some danger waiting for him. What if Kizaru is also hurt along with him? He cannot put his good friend in danger. Kizaru, no matter what, just listen to me this time, stay at the Marine headquarters and wait for me to come back. How about we reunite again? Seeing that Lai Mu just didn't want to take him with him, Kizaru glared at Lai Mu and left the canteen immediately without going to eat. Seeing Kizaru leaving like this, Lai Mu knew that he must be very angry, but he didn't know how to express his inner thoughts to him. If he said it, he would probably be more determined to follow him. Sengoku Admiral is sitting there, and there is also Lai Mu. He was thinking that Lai Mu really didn't care about things like credit or lack of credit, but he couldn't understand why Lai Mu didn't want to take Kizaru with him. Lai Mu, what do you think? I think it's good for Kizaru to follow you. Just let him go with you. Lai Mu still smiled and shook his head. No matter what, Kizaru can't go with me. You should tell the 5 elders of the World War Palace that I need Akainu as my helper, as long as they agree. Akainu will go to sea with me, and I will set off immediately. After Lai Mu had spoken, he started eating in large gulps. Seeing that Lai Mu had already said this, Sengoku Admiral did not say anything and could only inform the 5 elders of the World War House tomorrow morning about the conditions proposed by Lai Mu. After Kizaru left the cafeteria alone, he thought Lai Mu would think that he was a little angry and would chase him out, but when he turned around again, he did not see Lai Mu. He was wondering if Lai Mu really didn't consider him a good friend. Were all the things he said before lying to him? Just listening to it in front of many people made Kizaru feel really uncomfortable. Kizaru didn't plan to go back to the cafeteria anymore, and decided to go back to the dormitory alone, because he really wasn't in the mood to eat. After Lai Mu had eaten, he decided to prepare some food and drink for Kizaru and deliver them to his dormitory. Because he really didn't eat just now, otherwise he might be really hungry in the middle of the night. I've eaten the Sengoku Admiral and went back to the dormitory first. Although Lai Mu informed Sengoku Admiral, he still rushed to the window of the cafeteria, grabbed some food and drinks and left the cafeteria. Seeing Lai Mu preparing these food and drinks, Sengoku Admiral knew that they might be given to Kizaru, so why wasn't he willing to take Kizaru with him? Let Sengoku Admiral sit there and eat, still full of doubts. Lai Mu took these food and drinks to the door of Kizaru's dormitory, raised his hand, and knocked on the door. After knocking on the door, he decided not to face Kizaru, otherwise Kizaru would still ask questions, so he directly put the food and drink there and immediately left at the door of Kizaru's dormitory. Kizaru heard the knock on the door and was very curious about who it was. He came to the door and opened it, but he didn't see anyone. 883 just had a bag placed at the door. He opened the bag and found his favorite food inside. He was wondering who sent it. Could it be Lai Mu? If it is really Lai Mu, it means that he still has himself in his heart and regards himself as a good friend. Why is he not willing to let himself go to sea with him? Kizaru was holding the bag in his hand, but he didn't know if he should go back to the room and eat these things, because he really didn't have much appetite. He could only take the things back to his room and sit there looking at the food in a daze. Lai Mu returned to the dormitory. Because of a busy day, Lai Mu was really tired and decided to take a good rest. Only in this way will you feel more energetic when you go to sea, and then you will be able to deal with the pirates one by one. Lai Mu, who was lying on the bed, didn't think about anything and just fell asleep. Point 132. Akainu doesn't work as a follower to Lai Mu. 132. Akainu doesn't work as a follower to Lai Mu. Early the next morning, Sengoku Admiral also called the World War House early. The 5 elders of the World War House did not expect that Lai Mu would raise another opinion and got angry on the phone. Sengoku Admiral was very nervous when he heard their angry voices, but he felt that they should still agree to Lai Mu's condition. 5 elders, please don't be angry. Lai Mu's condition is really normal. He just needs a designated helper. I hope you can agree. Seeing that Sengoku Admiral said that he just needed a designated helper, they really wanted to hear who this helper was. Tell me who it is. It's a vice admiral from our marine headquarters, called Akainu. After hearing that it was just a small vice admiral, the 5 elders of the World War Palace thought it would be a good idea to let Lai Mu complete the mission this time. Okay. Then send this vice admiral to Lai Mu and let them set off as soon as possible to complete Ohara's mission. Seeing that the 5 elders agreed on the phone, Sengoku Admiral thought that he would inform Akainu soon and ask him to make sufficient preparations with Lai Mu. Okay 5 elders, I will inform Lai Mu and them, and let them set off as soon as possible. After Sengoku Admiral hung up the phone, he breathed a long sigh of relief, stood up and left his office. After he went out, he knew every marine and would train on the beach every day. He went directly to the beach and really saw Akainu and Porcellino standing there. He is also particularly dissatisfied with Akainu and Porcellino. I think the two of them like to make small reports, and I really hope that they can correct them in the future. Akainu backquote. Quote. Hearing someone calling him from behind, Akainu slowly turned around, because Sengoku Admiral is an admiral, so as a vice admiral, Akainu naturally still has to be angry with Sengoku Admiral. What's wrong? Is there something wrong with Sengoku Admiral? Yes, the World War Palace has sent you to be Lai Mu's assistant to complete Ohara's mission. Akainu was stunned, and Porcellino who was standing aside was also stunned. He didn't expect that Lai Mu actually wanted Akainu to be his helper. Akainu is still dissatisfied and wants to ask Sengoku Admiral if Lai Mu proposed this opinion. In any case, he will not be Lai Mu's follower. As the matter of Sengoku Admiral an order from the World War government, or is it an opinion put forward by Lai Mu? Seeing Akainu asking himself, Sengoku Admiral was thinking that no matter what, the 5 elders of the World War Palace had already agreed, and Akainu just had to obey. Could it be said that he is really as capable as Lai Mu and can go head to head with the 5 elders of the World War Palace? No matter what, just obey and go find Lai Mu later. You two should be fully prepared and see if you can set off tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. Seeing Sengoku Admiral saying this to himself, Akainu said loudly, I don't agree. I will not follow Lai Mu to complete Ohara's mission. Why should I be his little follower? Seeing him refuting what he told him, Sengoku Admiral was also particularly dissatisfied. Sengoku Admiral was thinking that if he was dissatisfied, he could go to the 5 elders of the World War House and have a good talk. What's the use of talking to myself? Anyway, I am obeying the orders of my superiors. Single quote. If you are willing to obey, then obey. If you are not willing to obey, then the 5 elders of the World War House will punish you and see what you should do. Sengoku Admiral put down these words and left immediately. Porcellino, who was standing aside, also said quietly. The Akainu incident must have been caused by Lai Mu. Seeing Porcellino reminding him like this, Akainu rushed directly to Lai Mu's dormitory. He must question Lai Mu. Did he propose such a thing to the 5 elders of the World War Palace? Opinion. Porcellino said this just to anger Akainu and let Akainu settle accounts with Lai Mu, which would also help him vent his anger. That day in the cafeteria, I was seriously warned by Lai Mu, Manuo, which made me feel dissatisfied with Lai Mu. It is also a good soldier not to take action yourself, but to let others take action for you. Akainu ran all the way and soon arrived at the door of Lai Mu's dormitory. He slammed the door hard, as if he wanted to break it immediately. Lai Mu had just woken up and hadn't planned to get up yet. Hearing his door being knocked heavily like this, he was really curious about who it was. But after thinking about it, he could probably guess a thing or two. He knew it might be the Akainu. Even if he didn't let Kizaru follow him, Kizaru would not knock on his door so angry. Point 133. Ridicule Kizaru. 133. Ridicule Kizaru. Lai Mu stood up slowly, went to open the door, and saw Akainu standing in front of him. Why Akainu? You came to my dormitory door this early in the morning, do you want to be my alarm clock? Akainu was very angry now and wanted to teach Lai Mu a good lesson. He raised his fist and wanted to hit Lai Mu in the face. The moment Lai Mu saw him raise his fist, Lai Mu also stretched out her hand to hold his fist. Although Lai Mu's hand was not big, it was held on top of Akainu's fist, and Akainu could immediately feel that his hand was being squeezed so tightly that his bones became painful. Lai Mu's strength is getting stronger and stronger, because Lai Mu has the gravity fruit, so Akainu is now feeling more and more pain in his bones. He started to scream, hoping that Lai Mu would let go of his hand. Lai Mu, let me go, let me go. Lai Mu was thinking that now that he finally spoke, he really had to ask him what he wanted to do here. Without saying a word, he just wanted to hurt himself. Then please give me a good explanation. Are you saying that you came here early in the morning just to teach me a lesson? Yes, I just want to teach you a lesson. Have you put forward your opinions to the World War House? I will not be your little follower. Lai Mu smiled, not expecting that he came here because of this matter, but it was not something he could decide on his own, so this time he had to be his little follower. Seeing Lai Mu still smiling happily, Akainu became even more dissatisfied. Akainu was thinking why he was still smiling so happily, BFBI, when he was feeling so uncomfortable now. He must treat him well today. Sad. Akainu raised his fist involuntarily again, intending to hit Lai Mu in the face. Lai Mu saw that his fist was starting to be a bit dishonest again, so he immediately stretched out his hand and held it tightly. I said just now I squeezed your fist very hard and you screamed ouch, 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 have you forgotten? Akainu glared at Lai Mu. Yes, I have not forgotten, but I will not compromise and be your little follower. Seeing him repeating those words, Lai Mu raised her foot and kicked him in the stomach. In an instant, he flew out, hit the wall of the corridor, and slid down from the wall. The marine soldiers walking back and forth in the corridor also saw this scene. Everyone was very curious about what happened at the door of Lai Mu's dormitory, and everyone looked here. Lai Mu slowly walked out of his dormitory. Akainu, I advise you to compromise obediently. If you don't compromise, it's really not me who will teach you a lesson and punish you, it will be the 5 elders of the World War Palace who want to punish you. As you. After Lai Mu said this, he felt that he had just gotten up and should really go have breakfast now. He didn't want to talk too much with him anymore, so he left his presence directly. Akainu still didn't believe it, so he thought that he would go and have a good talk with the 5 elders of the World War House. He would not work as a follower for Lai Mu, and hoped that they could change their decision. He got up immediately and left the dormitory, planning to take the boat to the World War Palace. Lai Mu came to the cafeteria and saw Kizaru sitting in the cafeteria eating something. Lai Mu was also hesitating now. After he ordered some things, should he sit with Kizaru and eat together? He knew Kizaru's heart. Maybe you are still angry with yourself. Before Lai Mu could order something, Kizaru saw Lai Mu stand up immediately and left the canteen. Seeing that Kizaru ignored him, Lai Mu felt a little uncomfortable. But in order to keep Kizaru safe, I can only maintain this relationship with Kizaru now. Lai Mu rushed to the window, ordered some things, sat there and started eating. Although Kizaru stood up and left the cafeteria, after going out, he still looked into the cafeteria along the window. He saw Lai Mu sitting there eating. It seemed that he was a little unhappy in his heart. He was wondering what exactly Lai Mu was unhappy about. He couldn't figure out Lai Mu's thoughts right now. He sighed and immediately planned to leave, but was stopped by Porcellino. Why Kizaru? Don't you usually get along very well with Lai Mu? Why didn't he choose you as his helper this time, but instead chose Akainu? When Porcellino came to ask him about this matter, Kizaru was unwilling to answer. Kizaru thought that it was Lai Mu's own decision and hoped that Porcellino would not interfere too much. Porcellino, you should mind your own business. This time we will complete the mission. Lai Mu was just a small soldier before and was promoted to Vice Admiral. As for you, let you deal with a bullet. If you can't do it well, you might as well have time to train more. 134. Kizaru is not interested in training. 134. Kizaru is not interested in training. Kizaru threw these words to Porcellino and left his side directly. Porcellino glanced at Kizaru and felt that Kizaru was really sharp-tongued and always used these words to ridicule him. He pouted, didn't say anything more, and ran directly to the cafeteria. Porcellino ordered some food and drinks and looked around, but there really wasn't any room. Only the table at Lai Mu was available. He was also hesitant whether he should sit there or not, but if he didn't, he wouldn't have anywhere to sit. When he was at a loss, Lai Mu slowly raised his head and showed an intimate smile. Porcellino, come and sit here. Seeing Lai Mu calling him, Porcellino didn't know whether he should go there. Because he knew that it was Akainu and himself who went to the World War House to file a complaint against Lai Mu. What if Lai Mu wanted to take revenge on him now? Seeing that he seemed to be very timid about himself, Lai Mu burst into laughter. What's wrong with Porcellino? Are you afraid of me? Seeing Lai Mu saying that he was afraid of him, Porcellino shook his head. Porcellino was thinking that he was also a vice admiral after all. He had a lot of courage, but he must not let everyone mistakenly think that he was in front of everyone. Some are afraid of Lai Mu. Taking those difficult steps, he could only slowly walk to Lai Mu's table. After sitting there, I became a little cautious when eating. Seeing him like this, Lai Mu thought that he really looked a little different from the Porcellino he knew before. Porcellino didn't expect that you, who is so talkative, actually joined forces with Akainu to go to the World War House to file a lawsuit against me. Although Lai Mu mentioned this, Porcellino just sat there with his head down and eating, as if he didn't hear it. Lai Mu really didn't expect that he would ignore her and pretend to be mute. It seems that I really should scare him, let him know that it is best to keep his mouth quiet in the future, and not to make frequent snitches. Lai Mu raised his hand and slapped it hard on the table. After Lai Mu patted the table, the plates and cups on the table seemed to fly into the air immediately and land on the table again. The plate clinked and a lot of juice in the cup spilled out. When Porcellino saw Lai Mu getting angry, he also looked at him with fearful eyes. Lai Mu, what do you mean? Seeing him asking what he meant, Lai Mu chuckled, of course I want to ask you, why don't you answer me when I talk to you? Could it be that you feel guilty? 1. Porcellino did feel guilty in his heart, but how could I dare to say it out loud? Lai Mu, what are you talking about? I can't understand what you are saying. Lai Mu knew it wasn't that he didn't understand, it was just that he was pretending to be confused now, but Lai Mu still wanted to speak to him properly. I'm telling you, I will tolerate you one more time today. I hope you will stop snitching in the future. And I have done nothing wrong. If you do something detrimental to me in the future, don't blame me for being rude. Please give me flowers. Lai Mu stood up, stopped eating, and left the canteen. He looked so majestic, as if when he walked out of the cafeteria, everyone's eyes followed him. Porcellino was trembling as he sat there, really frightened by Lai Mu's words. Especially when Lai Mu's hand hit the table just now, it really made him think that Lai Mu was going to hit him with his hand. Lai Mu left the cafeteria and looked towards the beach. He saw Kizaru standing there training, but he could notice that Kizaru didn't seem to have any intention to train. 0.00. Maybe because he didn't choose him as his helper, he felt unhappy in his heart. Lai Mu stood there looking at the beach, hesitating whether he should go there to train with him. Akainu also came to the World War Palace by boat. He rushed directly into the lobby of the World War Palace. The five elders were very confused when they saw him coming, thinking that he was really a little offensive. I asked you, Vice Admiral, why did you barge in like this? Seeing them asking themselves, Akainu stared at them angrily, wanting to ask them why they made such a decision again. 5 elders, I really want to ask you, why did you choose me to be Lai Mu's little follower? I don't want to. Seeing him yelling at them, the 5 elders of the World War Palace were really angry, because they were the leaders of the highest realm in the Marine headquarters. It was really impolite for him to speak like this. The punishments they gave him were quite normal. 135. Akainu and 5 elders head to head. 135. Akainu and 5 elders head to head. I said you, Vice Admiral, are really rude, go back to your Marine headquarters as soon as possible. Yes, otherwise we will have you punished immediately. The 5 elders told Akainu very sternly, but Akainu just didn't understand. He just hoped that the 5 elders would change the decision they made. He would not help Lai Mu under any circumstances. I hope you can change your decision. I will not be Lai Mu's helper. Seeing what he said, the 5 elders of the World War Palace were thinking that they couldn't give orders to such a small 037 Vice Admiral. Wasn't he still going to obey their rules? I really didn't expect that you, a little Vice Admiral, would come to confront us like this. It seems that we really should tell the Sengoku Admiral the matter and let the Sengoku Admiral discipline you properly. The World War Palace 5 elders directly picked up the phone on the side, intending to inform the Sengoku Admiral. Seeing them going to tell Sengoku Admiral, Akainu was still so determined and stood there straight. Even if you call Sengoku Admiral, I will not agree. The 5 elders of the World War Palace did not want to listen to what Akainu said. They shouted loudly to the other Marine soldiers outside, hoping that they could drag Akainu out. They did not want to hear this little Vice Admiral inside make a lot of noise. Drag him out quickly, he's really annoying. Hearing the 5 elders shouting, 2 Marine soldiers came quickly, pulling Akainu and taking him out. Akainu struggled not to leave the hall, but he really couldn't resist the 2 Marine soldiers alone, so he was dragged out of the hall of the World War Palace. Sengoku Admiral received a call soon in his office. He did not expect that this Akainu would be so impudent, go to the World War Palace, and also refute the orders issued by the World War Palace. Don't worry, Five Elders, I will take care of this matter. After Sengoku Admiral hung up the phone, he felt that he should take his soldiers to bring Akainu back and not let him continue to mess around. He directly put down the work at hand and came out of his office. After going out, I saw Lai Mu standing there, looking at the beach in the distance. Akainu also came to Lai Mu and patted Lai Mu on the shoulder. He felt that it would be better to leave this matter to Lai Mu, because Lai Mu was not only powerful, but also very smart. He must have a way to bring Akainu back to him. Lai Mu, I want to leave one thing to you. Seeing Sengoku Admiral say that he had something to tell him, Lai Mu nodded. Sengoku Admiral, tell me, what's the matter? Now take a few Marine soldiers to the World War Palace. Akainu went there to cause trouble. We can't let him stay there. Bring him back as soon as possible. Lai Mu thought that Sengoku Admiral had given him this task because he thought he could do it and brought Akainu back, so he would complete it as soon as possible. Don't worry, Sengoku Admiral, I will bring it back as soon as possible. Lai Mu immediately left Sengoku Admiral's side, called a few Marine soldiers, and drove the boat away from the coast immediately. Kizaru was really curious when he saw Lai Mu taking a few Marine soldiers and leaving in a boat. Sengoku Admiral also noticed that Kizaru had been looking into the distance. He came to Kizaru again and patted Kizaru on the shoulder. What's wrong, Kizaru? I saw that after you watched Lai Mu leave, your eyes kept following him. Are you curious about where Lai Mu went? Kizaru still wanted to pretend that he didn't care about Lai Mu, so he shook his head and wanted to leave Sengoku Admiral's side. But how could Sengoku Admiral not see it? He stopped Kizaru again. Kizaru, I think Lai Mu has some unspeakable secrets in not letting you follow him to complete Ohara's mission. Otherwise, you should just listen to Lai Mu. Seeing that Sengoku Admiral persuaded him that it was him, Kizaru still didn't answer anything and quickly walked to his dormitory 4.0. Lai Mu drove a boat with several Marine soldiers and rushed to the World War Palace very quickly. After getting off the boat, a few of them rushed to the World War Castle. When they came to the yard, they saw Akainu still struggling, but he was restrained by two Marine soldiers. Lai Mu felt that he was embarrassed. It was really thrown into the World War house. Why can't Marineford's Marine headquarters think about it? If he continues to act like this, it is possible that Marineford's Marine headquarters and Sengoku Admiral will be implicated. 136. Akainu agreed to be Lai Mu's helper. Amazing video. 0/447. 136. Akainu agreed to be Lai Mu's helper. I see you are really fooling around. Follow us back quickly. Seeing Lai Mu coming and ordering herself to go back with him, Akainu stared at Lai Mu. I tell you, Lai Mu, I will not go back with you. You are a vice admiral and I am a vice admiral. Why do you order me? Lai Mu is thinking that although he is a vice admiral now, he can still complete Ohara's mission, which shows that his strength is far superior to him. That's why people from the World War house would leave this matter to themselves, and now I have a way to take it back. I said you should follow me and be a little follower. What's wrong with that? You can take a good look and see if I can complete the Ohara mission. If I can't do it in the middle, I can leave the matter to you and let you do it. When the time comes, won't the honor be yours too? Seeing Lai Mu 15 say this, Akainu was thinking, is Lai Mu really willing to give the honor to him? Or is he just saying this deliberately, just to let himself be his little follower? Akainu sneered a few times, he just didn't believe what Lai Mu said. Lai Mu, do you really not care about honor and such things? I really don't believe it. Seeing him saying that he didn't believe it, Lai Mu was wondering whether he believed it or not. He really should follow him and give it a try. Only after he tried it would he know. I have always just wanted to deal with those hateful pirates. I really have not put honor first. If you don't believe it, forget it. But I hope you can listen to what Sengoku Admiral told me to convey now. Order to you, follow me back to Marine headquarters in Marineford as soon as possible. Seeing that Lai Mu said so much to him again, Akainu sat on the ground and thought a lot. He was thinking that since Lai Mu chose to let him be his helper, he would follow Lai Mu to complete Ohara's mission. The first is to see if Lai Mu has such strength, and the second is that maybe I can really harm Lai Mu in the middle, and then complete the mission this time by myself. Seeing him sitting there with his eyes chattering, Lai Mu knew that he must be thinking about these things, and he might also be considering whether to follow him on this mission to Ohara. Why are you thinking about it? Think about it slowly. I really am not in a hurry, I am just standing here to accompany you. Akainu shook off the two Marine soldiers who were restraining him, and stood up slowly. Okay, Lai Mu, this time I will be your little follower and your helper. Let me see if you can really complete Ohara's mission. Seeing that he had made up his mind, Lai Mu also patted him on the shoulder. Now that we've decided, let's go. Let's return to the Marine headquarters as soon as possible. Akainu glanced at Lai Mu and wanted to leave the World War Palace's castle immediately. When Lai Mu saw him walking in front, he immediately left the courtyard with several other soldiers. Just as Lai Mu was about to walk out, he heard someone calling him from behind. Lai Mu, wait. Hearing this voice, Lai Mu knew that it was the 5 elders of the World War Palace. Lai Mu turned around slowly and faced them with a smile. What's wrong with the 5 elders? Is there something going on? Yes, Lai Mu, when will you leave? Seeing their anxious looks, Lai Mu knew how eager they were to let him complete Ohara's mission. After all, He was also afraid that the historical text might expose some secrets of Marine headquarters, so we really should leave as soon as possible. Don't worry, as soon as you hand over the golden phone bug to me, I will take Akainu and set off immediately. After hearing Lai Mu talk about the golden phone bug, the World War Palace 5 elders still couldn't just hand over the golden phone bug to Lai Mu so easily. I think it would be better if they have 077 time tomorrow. They should hand it over to the Sengoku Admiral first, and then give Sengoku Admiral a few words and ask the Sengoku Admiral to hand it over to Lai Mu. You should go back first, and we will personally deliver the golden phone bug to your marine headquarters. Lai Mu was not in a hurry, they were the ones who were anxious anyway. Lai Mu shrugged. Okay, 5 elders, I'll take my leave now. Lai Mu turned around and left the World Battle Axe Castle with the few marine soldiers he brought with him and Akainu. Several people came to the coast, got on the boat, and took the boat, intending to rush back to the marine headquarters. Along the way, Lai Mu noticed that Akainu didn't say a word. Lai Mu was wondering what was going on in his heart. Why was he so unwilling before, but now he actually agreed to it and wanted to follow him to complete this mission. I said you kid is thinking about these things. You can't be planning something secretly. 137. Lai Mu will satisfy Sengoku Admiral. 137. Lai Mu will satisfy Sengoku Admiral. Akainu glared at Lai Mu, said nothing, and looked into the distance. He was thinking that even if he was thinking about something, he would not reveal anything. By then, on the ocean, maybe Lai Mu will know what he is thinking about. Seeing that he didn't speak, Lai Mu knew what he was thinking, and it seemed that there was nothing good going on. Lai Mu didn't think too much about it. Anyway, he was strong and it was impossible for anyone to hurt him. Lai Mu crossed his arms and looked towards the Marineford Marine headquarters. After about 10 minutes, they returned to the Marine headquarters again. Lai Mu got off the boat and saw Sengoku Admiral standing there. Lai Mu planned to go back to Sengoku Admiral because he had done this well. The Sengoku Admiral matter has been done. Akainu has been brought back by me, and he has agreed to follow me to complete Ohara's mission. Sengoku Admiral was very surprised when he heard that Lai Mu said that Akainu agreed to go with Lai Mu to complete Ohara's mission. Thinking about it again, Akainu was not willing in the morning, so why did he become willing now? Could it be that did Lai Mu say something? Lai Mu, what method did you use to get Akainu to agree? Lai Mu didn't want to explain too much. He felt that since he had done things well, it was good enough that Sengoku Admiral was satisfied. Sengoku Admiral, no matter what method I use to get things done, it's enough to satisfy you. Seeing that Lai Mu didn't want to say so much, Sengoku Admiral nodded and didn't intend to ask any more questions, but he still hoped that Lai Mu and Kizaru could reconcile. I feel that there should be more harmony between people at the Marine headquarters. Only in this way can we complete the mission well. Lai Mu, I know that there is not much estrangement or resentment between you and Kizaru. It's just a little misunderstanding. You two should make peace as soon as possible. Lai Mu understood Sengoku Admiral's persuasion and immediately left Sengoku Admiral's side without saying anything. Lai Mu came to the beach and wanted to continue training, because he knew that in the next 2 days, he would be setting off to complete Ohara's mission. During this period, I must improve my strength and make myself strong so that I can complete this task well and get those generous benefits. Although Kizaru returned to his dormitory, he was really bored staying in the dormitory. My current relationship with Porcelino is not that good, and I feel that I can only get along better with Lai Mu. However, some misunderstandings have arisen with Lai Mu. Should I still reconcile with Lai Mu, as Sengoku Admiral said? He stood up again and walked out of his dormitory. When I came outside, I saw Lai Mu training on the beach not far away. Holding a sharp knife and waving it around, Lai Mu was very powerful every time he swung it forward, and his technique was also very good. Although he became Vice Admiral early and Lai Mu was just a soldier before, he really admires Lai Mu himself. Kizaru stood there, staring at Lai Mu in the distance. Lai Mu waved his sword, and when he turned around, he actually saw Kizaru looking at him not far away. Lai Mu stopped and was looking at Kizaru not far away. The two people just looked at each other from a distance, but they didn't know whether they should take steps towards each other. Lai Mu stood there hesitating for a long time, but still did not approach Kizaru. He knew that if he were to go to Kizaru, Kizaru would still ask questions. He turned around again and started training. Seeing Lai Mu continue training without paying attention to him, Kizaru felt really uncomfortable. He could only turn around and return to the dormitory first. When Lai Mu turned around again, Kizaru's figure had disappeared. He knew that he had not paid attention to Kizaru just now, and Kizaru must have felt bad in his heart. Lai Mu has no intention of continuing to practice. He feels that his strength is really strong. Now go back to the dormitory and have a good rest. It is estimated that after tonight, the 5 elders of the World War Palace will draw golden phone bugs and send them to themselves as soon as possible. Lai Mu took his sword and walked to the dormitory to pick it up. The 5 elders of the World War Palace are sitting in the hall discussing this matter. Let's decide when to send the golden phone bug and the silver phone bug to the Marine headquarters in Marineford, and then ask Lai Mu to complete the matter as soon as possible. Quote. When do you think we should send this phone bug over? Quote. Seeing one of the 5 elders asking, the other 4 said in unison. 138. Kizaru prepares dinner for Lai Mu. 138. Kizaru prepares dinner for Lai Mu. Why don't we do it tomorrow? We can complete Ohara's mission as soon as possible and we can rest assured. Seeing that the other 4 people had already said this, the 5 elders who had just asked the question nodded, and decided that the 5 of them would take a boat to the Marine headquarters in Marineford tomorrow and tell Lai Mu about this matter as soon as possible. Then it's decided. We will rush there as soon as possible tomorrow, hand the golden phone bug to Lai Mu, and then let him set off to complete Ohara's mission the day after tomorrow. Lai Mu returned to the dormitory and lay there. He knew that he would be alone when he went to have dinner later. He really missed the time of sitting and eating with Kizaru. That way, I seem to be able to eat a few more bites and feel good. After thinking for a while, he decided that he might as well not go eat tonight. There was no need to worry about saving food, so I closed my eyes and fell asleep. The weather was gradually getting dark, and all the Marine soldiers and Vice Admirals went to the canteen of the Marine headquarters one by one to eat delicious food. Because they have to deal with those nasty pirates and increase their own strength, the food at the Marine headquarters is also quite good. Not only fish, meat and shrimp, but also some milk bread or more hearty food are available. Kizaru came to the cafeteria and looked around, but did not see Lai Mu. He was wondering why Lai Mu didn't come. He didn't think much about it, and was going to get some food and drink, and then return to his dormitory after eating. After picking up the things, he saw Sengoku Admiral. Sengoku Admiral also waved to Kizaru, intending to ask Kizaru to come and sit next to him. Kizaru saw that there was a seat over there at Sengoku Admiral, so he went directly to Sengoku Admiral. After sitting there, he didn't say anything and only started to eat. Kizaru, did you see Lai Mu when you came from the dormitory just now? I've been here for so long and I haven't seen him. Could it be that he doesn't plan to eat tonight? Seeing Sengoku Admiral asking himself these words, Kizaru just shook his head and planned to wait and see if Lai Mu would come to eat later. If he really doesn't come, I will bring him a share. Sengoku Admiral and Kizaru also ate for a long time. While eating, they looked around in other places, but did not see Lai Mu. Kizaru speeded up again, ate all the food on his plate, stood up and threw it in front of the window. I grabbed some food and drink and left the canteen immediately. Seeing what Kizaru did, Sengoku Admiral knew that he must have done it for Lai Mu. Sengoku Admiral sighed, thinking that both people have each other. BFAJ, why can't they sit together and have a good chat, or reconcile again? Kizaru took the food and drink and came to the door of Lai Mu's dormitory. He knew that the person who sent him food that night was Lai Mu, so now he also sent food to Lai Mu. He also knew that if Lai Mu faced him, the two of them would be embarrassed and wouldn't know what to say. It seems that I can only put these foods here and leave immediately. He put the food at the door first, knocked on the door, and left the door immediately. This scene was seen by Porcellino, who did not expect that Kizaru and Lai Mu had such a good relationship, and even brought Lai Mu dinner. He just couldn't see the two of them getting along so happily, so he came to Lai Mu's door and kicked the food with his foot. The milk brought for Lai Mu was spilled on the floor, the bread was also flattened. After seeing the food being ruined by him, Porcellino felt very happy and planned to leave Lai Mu's door. I feel that Lai Mu will have to go hungry tonight, and there is really no way to eat these delicious foods. However, because Kizaru had knocked on the door just now, Lai Mu vaguely heard the knocking sound. After it slowly opened its eyes, it was very curious about who it was. After standing up, he went to the door and opened it. After the door did not open, he was very surprised. Unexpectedly, he only saw Porcellino's figure passing by. The door was in a mess. There was not only spilled milk, but also flat bread that had been stepped on. Lai Mu was wondering who brought these food and drinks, and why it was like this now. Lai Mu just looked at these food and drinks in a daze. Although Kizaru returned to the dormitory, he was always worried about whether Lai Mu had eaten anything, and wanted to see if the food at the door of Lai Mu's dormitory was still there. He left his dormitory directly and went to Lai Mu's dormitory. Not far away, he saw Lai Mu standing at the door of his dormitory with his head lowered, looking at something at the door. 139. Kizaru misunderstood Lai Mu and spoiled food. 139. Kizaru misunderstood Lai Mu and spoiled food. He also saw the mess at the door of Lai Mu's dormitory. Sengoku Admiral immediately wondered whether Lai Mu didn't want to eat the food, so he ruined the food. He quickly rushed to Lai Mu and asked loudly, Lai Mu, did you make these foods? Seeing Kizaru questioning him, Lai Mu felt that he had really misunderstood him. He really didn't waste the food, and he didn't know who sent the food. But now he asked himself, did these words mean that the food was delivered by him? Kizaru is not me. But how could Kizaru believe it now? He thought that Lai Mu might not really regard him as a good friend. Not only did he not allow himself to be his helper, but he also mistook his kindness for nothing. Kizaru felt very sad and kicked the remaining half glass of milk. The milk spilled all over the floor, filling the corridor with the aroma of milk. Kizaru turned around and left immediately. Seeing Kizaru about to leave, Lai Mu stepped forward and took his hand. Kizaru, what are you doing? I really didn't put it on the ground. Could it be that you sent these foods? Yes, I sent it here, but I really didn't expect you to ruin my sincerity like this. If you want to eat it, you can eat it. If you don't, forget it. Kizaru shook off Lai Mu's hand and left here immediately. Seeing Kizaru leaving in front of him like this, Lai Mu felt aggrieved. It was indeed not his fault, but he was misunderstood by Kizaru. This made him immediately think of the figure of Pelusolino. I thought I had to ask this Pelusolino. He packed up all the food, packed the bags, and ran directly to Porcellino's dormitory. Poor Salino was very happy because he had just spilled Lai Mu's food. He was humming a song in his dormitory and lying on the bed, feeling very at ease. Lai Mu knocked on his door. When he heard the knock on the door outside, he didn't guess that it was Lai Mu's arrival. He stood up and opened the door. When he opened the door, he immediately wanted to close it, but it was too late. Lai Mu directly put his foot on the door, walked into his dormitory again, and stuffed the bag of food into his chest. The bag was soaked, and it was filled with the aroma of bread and the milky aroma of milk. Poor Salino knew that Lai Mu might have actually seen him doing these things, otherwise he would not have come directly to his dormitory. But no matter what, I would never admit it to death. Lai Mu, what are you doing in my dormitory, and what are these messy things, and you want to stuff them into my hands? Seeing his tough look, Lai Mu really hoped that he would be more honest and stop lying all the time. I said you are really interesting. There was a bag of food at my door just now. Did you kick it over and ruin it? Seeing Lai Mu questioning him, poor Salino strengthened his heart and looked directly at Lai Mu. Please give me flowers. Lai Mu, you really like to talk nonsense. Which one of your eyes saw that I spilled your food? If you slander me like this, I can file a complaint against you with Sengoku Admiral. Seeing that he wanted to sue him, Lai Mu thought, let him sue him casually. Anyway, he could see it clearly, and it was impossible for him to quibble. Let's go, I will take you to find that Sengoku Admiral now, and then I want Sengoku Admiral to talk to you carefully and see if you have anything else to explain. Lai Mu pulled him and was about to rush to Sengoku Admiral's office, but poor Salino became frightened. He was thinking that he could never follow Lai Mu. What would he do if his secret was exposed? Lai Mu actually belongs to someone else. Only he saw it. He doesn't mean that it can prove that he ruined these things, so now he just wants to scare him and see if he will. What will be revealed? Lai Mu, if I don't follow you, I won't admit it anyway. Lai Mu doesn't want to care so much. He has to go if he wants to, and he has to go if he doesn't. Lai Mu just held him tightly and dragged him out of the room. That Lai Mu's strength is so great, so much, that it seems endless and inexhaustible. Lai Mu forcefully dragged poor Salino out of the room. At this time, some soldiers had eaten in the canteen and returned to their dormitories. When we came to this corridor, we really saw this scene. Everyone was very curious about why Lai Mu pulled poor Salino so hard, and they all stood there and watched the excitement. 140. Akainu gets nosy. Amazing video. 0/447. 140. Akainu gets nosy. Lai Mu ignored the other marine soldiers and some vice admirals, and just wanted to take poor Salino away, but Pelusalino was yelling. Help, help, look at Lai Mu bullying me like this. Go tell Sengoku Admiral. Although he shouted, no soldier dared to obey his order and tell the Sengoku Admiral what was happening now. They knew Lai Mu's temper. They gave poor Salino a warning when they saw Lai Mu in the cafeteria that day. Now who of them would dare to do such a thing as 047? When the time comes, you are warned by Lai Mu, or you are harmed in some way, what should you do? After poor Salino yelled a few words, Lai Mu looked at the marine soldiers. One by one, the marine soldiers saw the hostility in Lai Mu's eyes, and they were so frightened that they hurried back to their rooms one by one, not intending to meddle in poor Salino's business anymore. Seeing that they were quite sensible, Lai Mu didn't say anything more and pulled poor Salino to continue rushing to Sengoku Admiral's office. Poor Salino really didn't expect that those marine soldiers were afraid of Lai Mu and would not mind their own business at all. This made him regret. He seemed to have never made a sincere friend in these years. If he had a sincere friend, he might help him and prevent Lai Mu from bullying him like this. After Lai Mu dragged him out of the dormitory building, he ran to Sengoku Admiral's office and met Akainu on the way. Akainu saw Lai Mu pulling Pelusalino forcefully, and was really curious about what happened. He just stared at Lai Mu and Pelusalino with his eyes. Lai Mu ignored Akainu and walked directly past him. However, poor Salino saw Akainu and hurriedly called Akainu, hoping that Akainu could help him. Akainu, save me, Lai Mu is really bullying. Seeing poor Salino calling him, Akainu didn't want to see such a arrogant Lai Mu. He really wanted to ask if Lai Mu was being too bullying and why he dragged Pelusalino so hard. Lai Mu, you are too arrogant. What are you doing? You are too bullying. Lai Mu saw that he was meddling in his own business, and Lai Mu stared at him angrily, hoping that he would shut his mouth, thinking that this matter had nothing to do with him, and that it would not involve him when the time came. Let himself get hurt. Why do you still have a good relationship with poor Salino? Do you want to protect him so much? Akainu had no intention of treating Pelusalino sincerely, but he couldn't understand Lai Mu's current attitude towards doing things, and wanted to have a few angry words with Lai Mu. Lai Mu, my relationship with poor Salino is not very good, but I don't want to see you bullying him like this. If you do this again, I will tell Sengoku Admiral now or go to tell the 5 elders of the World War House to see if you can continue to be arrogant when the time comes. Maybe you will really be the one to complete Ohara's capital path. Seeing him scare her, Lai Mu burst out laughing. Lai Mu thought that he was really brave. He felt light and airy after saying these few words. It was impossible for him to be scared. Let me tell you, even if you say these words to Sengoku Admiral and the 5 elders of the World War Palace, they will not be disqualified. Because I have this strength, they chose me and asked me to complete it. In this mission, he really doesn't seem to understand the current situation. Lai Mu said this and pulled poor Salino to continue rushing to Sengoku Admiral's office. Seeing Lai Mu's tough look, Akainu rushed forward and grabbed poor Salino's other hand, trying to pull poor Salino from Lai Mu's hand. Seeing that he was preventing him from doing things, Lai Mu said again. Hurry up and let go of your hand. Don't let me get angry. It will really implicate you. Lai Mu said warningly. Akainu just held poor Salino tightly and had no intention of letting go. He just wanted to see how he was implicated. Seeing that he didn't let go in 2.9, Lai Mu first let go of poor Salino's hand, then immediately raised his feet and quickly kicked the hand that was holding Pelusalino. After this kick, not only did the two people's hands loosen up, but their hands also immediately felt considerable pain, as if the bones had been broken by the kick. Akainu endured the pain and stared at Lai Mu angrily without making a sound. But Rusalino was screaming, feeling that his hand was more painful than when Lai Mu pulled him just now. 141. The infallible poor Salino. 141. The infallible poor Salino. Although poor Salino was in great pain now, Lai Mu did not intend to let him go. He still stepped forward and took his hand to take him to Sengoku Admiral's office. Akainu knew that he could no longer stop Lai Mu, so Lai Mu dragged poor Salino to the door of Sengoku Admiral's office. Sengoku Admiral returned to the office to process some documents because of what he had eaten. Now he also wanted to go back to his dormitory to rest. He just pushed the door open and was quite surprised. He didn't expect to see Lai Mu pulling him like this. By poor Salino. He knew that Lai Mu's temper was not very good, but his personality was not bad. But what was going on in this scene now? Lai Mu, why are you looking at Bossa 19 Lino like this? Hearing Sengoku Admiral's voice, poor Salino began to cry for help. Sengoku Admiral, save me, Lai Mu is bullying me too much, drag me from the dormitory building to your office. When Sengoku Admiral heard what Pelusalino told him, he also noticed that his clothes were really torn from being pulled by Lai Mu. Lai Mu no longer pulls poor Salino, feeling that he has brought him to the Sengoku Admiral. He will also tell the Sengoku Admiral the matter, hoping that the Sengoku Admiral can handle the matter fairly and equitably. Sengoku Admiral, I brought him to you today just because I hope you can discipline him properly. Seeing that I didn't have dinner, Kizaru prepared a dinner for me and delivered it to the door of my dormitory. After knocking on the door, he should be left. But when he passed by, he ruined all the food and drink. I really can't swallow this breath. Please see how to solve this matter. Sengoku Admiral knew that poor Salino usually didn't like to meddle in other people's business, and was very selfish, but he didn't expect that his mind would be so evil now, and he even took away the food that Kizaru sent to Lai Mu. Ruined. Sengoku Admiral glared at poor Salino fiercely, really wanting to ask him if he had done such a thing. Poor Salino was extremely nervous, his eyes kept dodging. Seeing his eyes, Lai Mu knew that there would be no one else but him. Sengoku Admiral spoiled the food. I wasn't that angry, but Kizaru came to this scene. Kizaru mistakenly thought that I had spoiled the food. He even thought that I didn't treat him as a sincere good friend. How could I possibly swallow this breath? Seeing that Lai Mu said so much to him again, Sengoku Admiral understood it and thought that he should let Lai Mu give poor Salino to him, and he would discipline him well. Lai Mu, you are going to see soon to complete Ohara's mission, so go back to the dormitory and rest early. I will take care of this matter. Lai Mu nodded, feeling that he had handed over poor Salino to Sengoku Admiral, and he really believed that Sengoku Admiral would discipline him fairly and impartially. Lai Mu left directly in front of Sengoku Admiral, but Sengoku Admiral helped poor Salino up first and immediately glared at him again. You'd better tell me whether you did this. If so, go and explain to Kizaru quickly. Don't let Kizaru go to the class meeting then. Lai Mu. How could poor Salino explain it? If he did, wouldn't that mean he admitted that he had spoiled the food that Kizaru gave to Lai Mu? I don't go. Seeing that he was still so determined, Sengoku Admiral was really angry. He raised his hand and slapped him in the face. This slap was also very loud, and it made poor Salino's face turn red. Poor Salino was stunned. He didn't expect that Sengoku Admiral actually slapped him. He didn't slap anyone in the face, but now he actually slapped himself in the face. As a leader, it would be a bit bad for him to do this. Sengoku Admiral, why did you slap me in the face? Even if you punch me twice or kick me twice, I don't care. If you hit me in the face now, I will do it tomorrow. How to meet people. Sengoku Admiral was thinking about how much forgiveness he would have to give him after he had done these things. If he didn't apologize, it would really be difficult for him to lead the Marine headquarters in the future. It doesn't matter whether you explain it to Kizaru or not, but I won't look at you twice in front of me in the future. Sengoku Admiral reminded him. Sengoku Admiral put down these words and left poor Salino's side. Poor Salino knew that if even Sengoku Admiral didn't pay much attention to him in the future, then he really wouldn't be able to stay here at the Marine headquarters. But when I asked myself to explain to Kizaru, I really didn't know how to speak. 142. Sengoku Admiral explains for poor Salino. 142. Sengoku Admiral explains for poor Salino. Lai Mu walked alone and returned to the dormitory. He didn't know whether he would reconcile with Kizaru before he left. If there is no other way, this time I go to see, and I don't know if I will come back safe and sound. It seems that I really should leave a letter to Kizaru. When he leaves, Sengoku Admiral will hand it over to him. Lai Mu sat there and wrote a letter. Every word in the letter showed that he did not waste the food sent by Kizaru, and that he had always regarded Kizaru as his best friend. He also wrote down the reasons why he did not let Kizaru follow him. He knew that when Kizaru saw this letter, he would understand everything and why he was like this during this period. Sengoku Admiral hopes that the relationship between Kizaru and Lai Mu will be reconciled. Sengoku Admiral wants Porcellino not to explain, so he will help Lai Mu explain it properly, hoping that the misunderstanding between Lai Mu and Kizaru will be resolved. Sengoku Admiral came to the door of Kizaru's room and knocked on the door. When he heard the knock on the door, Kizaru hesitated for a long time and finally stood up and opened the door. Seeing Sengoku Admiral coming, Kizaru was really curious. Sengoku Admiral, what's the reason for your coming? Yes, I want to have a chat with you. Why don't you welcome me into your dormitory? Kizaru smiled faintly, stepped aside and welcomed Sengoku Admiral into his dormitory. The two of them sat there, neither of them talking. Sengoku Admiral thought that he should speak by himself. After all, it was late and Kizaru also needed to rest. Kizaru, please believe in Lai Mu. Think about what Lai Mu is like in normal life. Will it really waste the food you send? Even if it doesn't want to eat it, or it mistakenly thinks it is sent by someone else. Yes, he will also throw it into the trash can, and will not punch or kick it to make a mess. Seeing Sengoku Admiral talking about this, Kizaru was wondering why Sengoku Admiral knew about this. He looked at Sengoku Admiral with doubtful eyes. Sengoku Admiral also stood up and patted his shoulder. This thing was done by Porcellino, and Lai Mu saw it with his own eyes. He was afraid that you would misunderstand, so he dragged Porcellino to my office to prove that he had not done this matter. Seeing Sengoku Admiral saying so much to him, Kizaru was sitting there in surprise. He was wondering if it was really not Lai Mu who wasted the food and drink. Kizaru sat there silently. Sengoku Admiral knew that it was possible that Kizaru still didn't believe it a little in his heart, but that was the fact. Regardless of whether he believed it or not, he had told him the truth. I just want to tell you that I don't think you will misunderstand Lai Mu in your mind, so I'll leave first and rest early. Sengoku Admiral stood up and left directly. Kizaru sat there and hesitated for a long time. He was wondering whether he should go and see Lai Mu. He might have really misunderstood Lai Mu just now. But it was really late when he looked at the time. He knew that Lai Mu might have already rested, and it seemed that he could only go to see Lai Mu tomorrow. Lai Mu wrote the letter, put it in the envelope, and lay on the bed planning to rest as soon as possible. Lai Mu, who was lying on the bed, was tossing and turning, still unable to sleep. The thought of Porcellino doing those things made him very angry. He was so difficult at that time, there was no way he could fight against Bullet. It's not like I took action to help him. Without me, they wouldn't have been able to come back so quickly and complete the task so well this time. Thinking about it, I feel a little regretful. I shouldn't have helped him like that at that time. I didn't expect that he was really not a good person. After taking a deep breath, Lai Mu stopped thinking about it and felt that there was no need to be angry with such a person. It's really not worth it to make yourself so angry. Lai Mu closed his eyes and immediately fell asleep. Early the next morning, Lai Mu slowly opened his eyes. His stomach was also hungry. He didn't go to eat last night. Although Kizaru brought the food, it was spoiled by Porcellino. It's so messed up that I can't eat it myself. Now he really had to rush to the canteen to eat something, and he had to fill his stomach. Lai Mu stood up, took the letter and opened the door. After the door was opened, he didn't expect Kizaru to be standing at his door. Kizaru was a little embarrassed when he saw Lai Mu and didn't know if he should explain. Lai Mu was not going to give Kizaru any good looks. He could only pretend to be in front of Kizaru for the time being and was unwilling to pay attention to him. Otherwise, Kizaru might still follow him and ask to complete Ohara. Task 143. Lai Mu tells the truth to Sengoku Admiral. 143. Lai Mu tells the truth to Sengoku Admiral. Kizaru was stunned when Lai Mu said such serious words, and Kizaru immediately pinched Lai Mu's arms. Lai Mu, I won't let you go. I know I misunderstood you yesterday. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I can't lose you as a good friend. Let's make peace with each other. Hearing Kizaru say these words to him, Lai Mu knew that Kizaru must no longer misunderstand him, but how could he reconcile with Kizaru immediately? He still had to continue to pretend. Impossible. You misunderstood me like that yesterday. How can I possibly reconcile with you again? Get out of my way quickly. Lai Mu was full of energy, struggled a few times, broke away from Kizaru's hand, and left Kizaru's side. Lai Mu knew that Kizaru would be very sad if he left now, but he had to do this. Lai Mu left the dormitory and rushed to Sengoku Admiral's office. Sengoku Admiral came to the 713 office early in the morning and was processing some documents when he heard the door of the office being knocked and shouted loudly outside, "Come in." Lai Mu walked in directly and handed a letter to Sengoku Admiral. Why Lai Mu? Who is this letter written to? Is it meant to be written to me? Can I open it and take a look? Lai Mu shook his head with a smile. This letter is really not for you, Sengoku Admiral. I hope that after I leave here, you can help me give this letter to Kizaru. After he reads it, he will know why I will give him the cold shoulder during this time. Sengoku Admiral knew that his guess was correct. There must be some reason for Lai Mu to ignore Kizaru like this. He didn't want Kizaru to be his helper and went to see together, but before he gave these to Kizaru, he also wanted to know, BFFJ, what was the reason for Lai Mu? Then you really have to tell me why you ignored Kizaru, otherwise I won't help you do this. After meeting Sengoku Admiral, Lai Mu asked him to tell the truth. No matter what he thought, Sengoku Admiral would understand what he was thinking after he said it. Sengoku Admiral, Don't you think it's strange that World War House 5 elders have changed their routine this time? I'm afraid they will use some trick to hurt me at sea. If Kizaru is implicated in my affairs, let me. Kizaru was also hurt in some way, and I was unwilling to do so I asked Kizaru not to follow me to complete Ohara's mission. Sengoku Admiral really admires Lai Mu more and more. He feels that his thoughts are really thoughtful and he thinks of things very delicately. But I think Kizaru should still follow Lai Mu. Since Lai Mu can guess all this, wouldn't it be better to have an extra helper to help him? Lai Mu, I said this is your fault. Wouldn't it be nice for Kizaru to help you out? Although Sengoku Admiral said this, Lai Mu still smiled and shook his head, not needing Kizaru's help because he just didn't want to see Kizaru get hurt. Sengoku Admiral, you should be able to understand what I'm saying now. I just don't want to see Kizaru get hurt. I also think it's okay for me to be alone. And didn't Akainu follow me this time? That's right. There is a helper taking care of me, so you don't have to worry too much. Seeing that Lai Mu had such a firm idea, Sengoku Admiral really had no choice but to continue persuading him. He could only nodded. Lai Mu also stood up and wanted to leave. Seeing Lai Mu looking so anxious, Sengoku Admiral was really curious. I said, Lai Mu, why are you in such a hurry? What are you going to do? Of course I'm going to eat. All my food and drinks last night were spoiled by Porcellino. I'm really hungry now, so I'll leave first. Seeing Lai Mu saying that he was already very hungry, Sengoku Admiral really couldn't talk to him anymore, so he quickly waved his hand and planned to let him rush to the canteen. Seeing that Sengoku Admiral could understand him and hurried him away to let him go to eat, Lai Mu immediately left Sengoku Admiral's office and rushed to the canteen. Kizaru was still sad and was not even in the mood to eat breakfast. He sat alone on the beach and looked at the blue water. He doesn't believe that Lai Mu is really hard-hearted and won't make peace with her anymore, nor does she consider him a good friend. He felt that Lai Mu must be so cold to him because of something like this. Lai Mu came to the canteen and took a lot of delicious food, and sat there and ate it. The other marine soldiers and admirals in the cafeteria were very curious. They didn't expect Lai Mu to eat so much. The two female marines who went to sea with Lai Mu to complete the mission also came to Lai Mu and started joking. Point 144. Kizaru asks to be Lai Mu's helper. 144. Kizaru asks to be Lai Mu's helper. Lai Mu, when we went to sea together before, I never saw that you had such a big appetite and could eat so much. What happened today? Seeing them asking themselves, Lai Mu burst out laughing and said directly. Last night, my food was really wasted, so I was hungry all night last night. Naturally, I had to replenish my energy early this morning and eat what I should have eaten last night. Eat it all back. After seeing what Lai Mu said, the two female marines laughed and left Lai Mu without saying anything else. Porcellino, who was sitting not far away, heard Lai Mu say this. He knew that the person Lai Mu was talking about was him, and he did not want to stay in this cafeteria, so he stood up and left. Lai Mu glanced at Porcellino who was leaving and continued eating his food. After Porcellino went out, he really saw ships coming towards the sea in the distance, and he also heard the sound of the ship's whistle. Kizaru, who wanted to go back to the dormitory, also heard it and saw the ship not far away. They knew it was the ship of the World War Palace 5 Elders. Everyone now knows that Lai Mu and Akainu are about to complete Ohara's mission. They also know that if the 5 Elders come, they will hand over the golden phone bug and the silver phone bug to Lai Mu and Akainu. So everyone really wanted to stand there and witness it for a while. This is a very difficult task, and if it can be handed over to Lai Mu, it can be regarded as Lai Mu's strength. The boat slowly approached, and after stopping on the coast, 5 Elders got off the boat. Seeing that there were quite a few marine soldiers standing on the beach, as well as some vice admirals and admirals, the 5 Elders holding crutches said loudly. Hurry up and call me your Sengoku Admiral Lai Mu and Akainu. At this time, Kizaru had an idea, that is, Lai Mu was not unwilling to let him follow. He now requested the 5 Elders of the World War House, hoping that they would agree to follow Lai Mu, and Japan would complete this Ohara task. He rushed forward directly. The 5 Elders were really frightened when they saw a Vice Admiral rushing over like this, and they quickly took a few steps back. What do you, the little Vice Admiral, want to do? The 5 Elders said in unison. Seeing their nervous expressions, Lai Mu thought that although these 5 old guys had high power, they were all quite timid. I just came to beg them, but they were frightened like this. Kizaru shook his head with a smile. I don't mean anything, I just have a request, I hope you can agree to it. Why? Seeing the little Vice Admiral saying that he had a request, the 5 Elders were very curious, what exactly was his request? Tell me what you want to ask of us. Seeing the 5 Elders holding crutches and asking themselves, Kizaru said directly. I know it is very important to complete Ohara's mission, so I think you should send more helpers to Lai Mu and do it right at once. Don't procrastinate. I also want to ask you to let I will go with Lai Mu. Because the 5 Elders just ordered the Marine soldiers to call Sengoku Admiral and Akainu Lai Mu. The Marine soldiers actually found Akainu and Sengoku Admiral and called them over. Please give me flowers. But he couldn't find Lai Mu, and he was looking everywhere. Sengoku Admiral came to the beach and heard Kizaru requesting the 5 Elders of the World War Palace. He really wanted to stop him. He wanted to protect Kizaru as much as Lai Mu. He hoped that Kizaru could stay at the Marine headquarters in Marineford and not be harmed in any way. How could he not help Lai Mu? Kizaru is talking nonsense. Lai Mu and Akainu will bring a lot of marine soldiers this time, so you don't have to worry about it. Seeing that even Sengoku Admiral wouldn't let him follow Lai Mu to complete the mission, Kizaru really didn't understand. What's wrong? Is it because I'm not strong enough? It's obvious to everyone that my strength is acceptable. Maybe after I go, Lai Mu will be even better. The five elders stood there, feeling that what the Vice Admiral in front of them said was very reasonable. One more person could be regarded as more hope. They did not want Ohara's mission to be completed slowly, and hoped that it could be completed as soon as possible. Go get this done. After these things are done, Lai Mu can come back as soon as possible, and they can imprison Lai Mu in the Impel Down. In this way, the marine career should be considered more peaceful and there will not be much turmoil. Sengoku Admiral saw that the five elders were silent and seemed to be thinking about something. He was really afraid that they would agree to Kizaru's request, so he hurriedly came to them with a smile on his face, hoping that they would never listen to Kizaru. Of 8.145. The five elders had no choice but to obey Lai Mu. 145. The five elders had no choice but to obey Lai Mu. Five elders, I think it's enough for Lai Mu to take action this time and bring Akainu with him. Don't let this Vice Admiral also follow. Although Sengoku Admiral was talking, Kizaru immediately picked up the conversation again. Five elders, think about it carefully. What I just said makes sense. Just let me follow Lai Mu. At this time, other marine soldiers also found Lai Mu in the cafeteria. Seeing that Lai Mu had walked out of the cafeteria, they hurriedly came to Lai Mu and informed Lai Mu that the five elders of the World War Palace had arrived here. 490. Lai Mu also hurried to the beach. When he came to the beach, he happened to hear what Kizaru said to the World War House five elders. Lai Mu really didn't expect that he would not agree with Kizaru to go, but Kizaru took the initiative to ask the World War Palace five elders to go with him. It seemed that he had to inform the World War House five elders that if Kizaru followed, he would not help them complete this matter. I won't take him with me. If he wants to go with me, then you should leave the task to others. Hearing Lai Mu's voice, the five elders of the World War House also looked towards Lai Mu. Unexpectedly, Lai Mu did not want to take this person with him. It seems that they can only reject Kizaru's request, and he can no longer follow Lai Mu to complete Ohara's mission. Kizaru came to Lai Mu. What is Lai Mu? Why can't I follow you to complete Ohara's mission? Why can't I be your helper? Lai Mu knew that he could only speak harsher and harsher words, and that Kizaru would become more and more sad, and he would distance himself further and further away from her. I will no longer continue to think about completing Ohara's mission with myself. I hate you, don't you understand this? Seeing Lai Mu saying that he hates him, Kizaru didn't believe it at all. He felt that Lai Mu was lying to him. Lai Mu, I know you are lying to me. You must have some reason. No matter what, I will follow you out to sea this time to complete Ohara's mission. Lai Mu thought that this matter was not something he could decide, and once again looked at the World War House five elders, hoping that they could clearly tell Kizaru that he could not follow him to sea. Seeing Lai Mu looking at them like this, the five elders all understood what Lai Mu meant, but they were unwilling to order Kizaru immediately, thinking that if they ordered Kizaru, it would seem that they were obeying Lai Mu. Seeing that the five elders were silent, Lai Mu decided to tell them clearly, hoping that they would do as he ordered. Why five elders, don't you understand what I mean? Let me tell this Vice Admiral that he cannot follow me to sea to complete this mission. Seeing Lai Mu ordering them, the five elders were very dissatisfied with Lai Mu, but there was nothing they could do. Only Lai Mu has the strength to complete Ohara's mission, and the five elders also looked at Kizaru. We know you have this intention, but let's forget it this time. You don't have to follow Lai Mu. We will also send a lot of marine soldiers to Lai Mu, as well as Vice Admiral to help Lai Mu. The five elders rejected Kizaru. Kizaru felt unhappy. He glared at Lai Mu and immediately left the beach. Seeing him leave, Lai Mu was relieved. Sengoku Admiral sighed, stood next to Lai Mu, and shook his head, wondering why Lai Mu was doing this. Lai Mu looked at the five elders with a smile, feeling that what they had just done was really good, and they would do whatever he told them to do. Five elders, are you here to hand over the golden phone bug and the silver phone bug to me? The five elders nodded and took out the shiny golden phone bug. Many marine soldiers stood on the beach and looked at the golden phone bug, which really made them envious. But they also knew that the golden phone bugs were all given to the powerful marines. How could a weak marine get the golden phone bugs? Lai Mu saw them taking out the golden phone bug and stepped forward to take it, but the five elders retracted their hands. Seeing their 1.8 appearance, Lai Mu smiled. Why five elders, what do you mean by this? Are you unwilling to hand over a golden phone bug to me? Lai Mu asked curiously. It's not that I don't want to leave it to you, I just want you to complete Ohara's mission this time, and you must do it well. Seeing them ordering him like this, Lai Mu felt that their trust in him was still a little bit low. He hoped that they could understand that since he dared to take on this mission, even if he had the strength, he would definitely get things done.